Hello and welcome back to Off Track Podcast with me, Dave Neal. After his brother's brilliant debut last week on the show, it's the turn of Mark Lloyd to join us. We follow Pup's story through Castrol Honda, Repsol Honda and Red Bull KTM MotoGP, and some great stories thrown in along the way. It's a fascinating chat and I can't wait to bring it to you. Before we do, while you're watching, please make sure you click like and subscribe on the channel because the more the merrier. We want to bring you more chats through this year, and the more subscribers and the more viewers help us do just that. So please, if you can, like and subscribe. That's enough from me. Let's get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the brilliant Mark Lloyd. Enjoy.
Red Bull KTM racing team, MotoGP. Mark Lloyd, welcome to Off Track, mate. Nice to see you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah. Having some nice downtime after a hectic season on the road. Yeah, good.
It's been a busy year for you. You working on the bike as Chief Mechanic with Brad Binder at KTM.
Yep.
It's been a tricky-ish season. You've had good results. It's been a little bit up and down. Just tell us about the season and working with Brad for 2024 so far.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a difficult, tough season, and it's been a bit of a grind, to be honest. It's like to get the results, what we've had to work sort of super hard. I think it's probably the toughest year we've had with Brad, getting the results. However, we started off great. Sepang, we had our best test ever, because normally we do Sepang test. It's, not doing too great. And then we had a great test with Brad. I think it was 7th, a lot of confidence, everything was working well. Went to Qatar test, great. And then we got a great result. We got a 2nd in the sprint, 2nd in the main race. Fantastic. We thought, wow, it's going to be a great year, this. And we're started to dream of it a little bit, like you do. And it's like, then I was cautiously optimistic, because you know what racing is like, you just never know. And then we went on to the next round and we had a few issues, and then it started to get tough. And then we did have good results, but but still, I mean, we must be proud in that we finished 5th in the championship, best non-Ducati. As KTM as a manufacturer, we were 2nd behind Ducati, which everybody knows is the best bike on the grid. So you have to take the positives, and we were really pleased to get 5th. In the end, okay, Costa was faster, I guess, over the season, but he had more DNS, as you expect from as a rookie. So to get 5th, it was important for us as Brad's team, our side of the garage, to get 5th. I think KTM was quite pleased as well that KTM was 5th in the championship. Sorry, beg your pardon, 2nd in the championship, but their rider was 5th. So yeah, it was a good year, but yeah, it was a tough, tiring year, and I'd say a strange year. A few mechanics were injured. We lost a few mechanics for a few rounds. We had people filling in. The coordinator, Jersey, he was a little bit unwell. So yeah, it was a weird year. It was a weird, tough year. One of the strangest I've had, I think, since I started. Yeah.
How are you coping with the travel now for 20-odd races? As time goes on, there's more races added every year. The time zones change. It doesn't get any easier. With the years that you've done in Grand Prix racing, how are you coping with the travel now?
I don't really think about it too much. I just you think of it like sort of day by day, hour by hour. You get to the airport, okay, you go to the lounge, you get on the plane. Yeah, you don't. If you think about it too much, I think it'd just fry your brain. So you just get on with it, and then if you do wear you down, or you've got your mates there, you've got everybody's there somewhere to pick you up, or you're gonna have a beer. So it is a big sacrifice. It's not for everybody. Everybody thinks it's glamorous, MotoGP. Okay. The bikes, the everything, it's fantastic, and working on the best bikes, working with the best people, the best factories, it is fantastic. It's a dream job, but you're away for almost 6 months of the year. You miss a lot of events at home, a lot of family things, weddings, birthdays, things like that. So it's a big sacrifice, but it's a rewarding job. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
We only see the Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the TV. We don't see the getting there, the setup days, the prep of the bikes, the taking down, coming home. And like we had your brother on last week.
Yeah.
We had Matt on last week, and he was saying like coming home between Japan and Australia, and then you trying to get your body back on that thing. But he said exactly the same thing about the traveling side of it. It is what it is. If you want to go racing, you've got to get there. So it's just part and parcel of the working week almost.
Exactly. If you want to do MotoGP, it's the elite motorcycle category in the world. You have to put the work in and the travel. That's if it goes out, so you can't. There's nothing, you know. But like I say, like whereas a BSB meeting, obviously it's 3 days as well. Some guys will probably arrive Thursday. We're arriving Tuesday night, and we're straight in on a Wednesday morning, setting the truck up, setting all the garage. You know, we're still mechanics, but we still have to do everything. We still have to, you know, unpack the truck, set everything up. So we're not superstars at all. You know, it's not like we get people to do that for us.
No, but what you've achieved, mate. I thought you'd have staff by now.
Yeah. Now it's now we still get my hands dirty and still got the knee pads on at the top of the truck. So yeah, you have to do that. Yeah.
How have you seen Brad? We'll talk about the current job first before we go into the career and what you've done over the years with various riders in World Superbike, MotoGP. How have you seen Brad improve since you started working with him? And the immediate success he almost had pretty much out of the box.
Yeah.
But watching him develop, because we don't have too many South African riders either in the championship. And his background was there for all to be seen, and taking the step into MotoGP. How have you enjoyed working with him and seeing him develop as a rider?
Yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal. I remember it started back in the Valencia test 2019. He came in and he was last. He was like 2.5 seconds off, and he was scratching his head, and he's like, whoa. And then I think a week later went to Jerez. He was struggling. It rained, and Mike Liner sent him out in the rain, like, you know, like a rookie on this bike, and he went out, and nobody went out. I think it was freezing cold. Mike said, "Like, get out in the rain." So we went out in the rain, and it was okay. And he said, "Right, I need to go away for this winter. I need to train. I need to bulk up, and I need to have a think what I've done." And he went away. He came back. We tested. It was okay. I mean, for a rookie, you know. And then we went to. Then obviously it was COVID, and then everything was on hold, and with the first race in July in Jerez, baking hot. It was so hot, and I think we had a test day before, and he was in the top 10. And I thought, "Wow, this is pretty good. He's learned over the winter." And then we did a good qualifying, and then we didn't have sprints then, so we went to the Grand Prix, and it was up there, and he ran into the gravel, and off the track, didn't crash, he ran off the gravel, and he joined back on. But afterwards, when we analysed all the lap times, the pace he had was for a top 3. We thought, wow, that's amazing. And then that was that. So we knew the potential was there. And then we had another race in Jerez because it was a double header. I think he fell off in that race. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, then we went to Brno, and then he won the race. And we thought, God, we're going to win every race now. You know, like a rookie, his third race, he's won it by 5.4 seconds.
It's impressive.
And we thought, wow, we're going to win every race. This is going to be fantastic. This is going to be so easy.
Boy, this is it.
Yeah, this is it. And my brother, he got his first podium with Morbidelli, so that was great. That was a really nice day. Although there's no fans, we had masks on.
You said that was a difficult time. It would have been lovely. You're still in your bubbles, weren't you?
Yeah, and you couldn't really mix or celebrate really. So, and I mean for Brad as well, his first win and waving to the crowd what wasn't even there, you know, it was a bit rubbish really. But yeah, obviously then we started there, then the tough times, then reality hits. We had a few good results, and then but one of the thing with Brad was he wasn't particularly good in the wet, and then he went away again over the winter, and he come back and it rained, and he said, "Don't worry, I've got this." And we're like, "What do you mean? Don't worry, I can ride in the rain now." We're like, okay. And he could, and it was like, so he goes away, I think, over the winter. He goes and trains, he puts his motocross bikes. His dad's got a place on the coast. They go there for a training camp. I think he just goes there, trains, thinks what he needs to do. How can I be a better person myself? How can I improve? Thinks about it and comes back and applies it. You know, no bullshit, nothing like that. Not, you know, we just, right, this is what I need to do. And for me, there's nobody works harder than him, like, to be better. You know, sitting with the technical guys, looking at, you know, the ghosting videos, you know, when you look at when they overlay it, looking at data, looking at racing starts, looking at everything. I think that's my father-in-law. There's no stone unturned, you know, like to be a better person. So that is evolved, like looking at data, looking at how he can improve. You can see that's definitely, because he knows how important it is. He's super fit. You know, the Red Bull guys say when he goes to the APC in Salzburg, he's one of the fittest motorsport athletes, not athlete overall, but motorsport. So he said, as long as I'm doing that, that's me. It's up to you guys now to give me a bite. So, so pressure's on. Yeah.
Well, that's all you can ask
Yeah.
From a rider, with the riders, we'll go through the riders you work with as we go through the career, but working with Nicky, working with Colin, working with Dovey, and they're all peak athletes. They're all at the top of their game. So to give Brad that accolade is something special, because you've been there, you've seen it, you know what it takes to win championships and to win races.
Yeah, well, I think what becomes more apparent, well, not more apparent, but when I first started, like, riders wasn't, they can be classed as athletes, but they didn't train like athletes. No. I mean, I worked with Fogarty, and I never even seen him train or anything.
Couple of laps in the back garden.
When I first noticed somebody training and was fit was Nicky. Because Nicky was talented, but he wouldn't have like the Rossi or Stoner as it come naturally. He had to work at it, and he knew he had to work it. So he trained so hard, like physically, bicycles, car, everything, to be a better rider. So where he lacked in natural riding ability, he tried to make up in the other areas, which it paid off. But he had to work a lot harder. Like Rossi, you know, I've seen Rossi in the gym. I mean, he's not training, you know, and he's just sat there on his phone and pretends he's training. It's just to be there, you know what I mean? So Colin trained to a certain extent, but no. Even, to be fair, even Aaron Sly, he trained hard. Yeah, he was but I think you either want to train to be a motorbike rider and to improve that, or you actually enjoy doing it. And some riders, like Alicia Spargaro, he loves cycling.
Absolutely.
And it's a benefit to his career as MotoGP rider. So there's different, some people think it's a chore because I need to do my job. Some people do it because it's an enjoyment thing and it helps what I do. So it's different ways of looking at it.
Alicia's built more like Tadej Pogacar than a MotoGP rider when you look at it.
He's just amazing.
Incredible what he looks like. But I find that with a lot of riders, that you have those, they can all ride. They've all got a level of ability, but it comes more natural to some than others. And like Brad, who has to work at it because he doesn't feel that he has the same natural ability as maybe Pecco or Valentino. So that's his motivation. That's his determination. I will work harder. Tommy Bridewell, similar sort of thing. I will work as harder than you to become faster than you.
I think that is true, but also you have to look at other things as well, like machinery as well. Like the guys like Pecco and those guys run a Ducati, and everybody speaks for themselves, the results. They lost one race this year to Aprilia in America. So yeah, I think Brad has to work at it harder because he wants to beat those Ducatis. And if you're just a tenth or 2 tenths behind, it's massive. So there's like, to compare, it's difficult, but you're right. Yeah, he does work. He probably has to work harder than those guys. Yeah,
hard work and talent. Yeah, will always beat talent line.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that kind of determination, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's been great to see his progress come through, because it is that kind of the background where he's had to dig in, he's had to have that grit. And the same with Darren as well, but it hasn't quite worked the same way for him. And you continue with Brad into 2025 as well.
Yes.
For next season. So you're continuing that bond, continuing that relationship, which is great. And that's something that has been a kind of a mark of your career. The loyalty that you've had to teams and riders is now continuing through with the KTM family.
Yeah, I mean, normally in this industry, you probably get a 2-year contract. So yeah, I was signed for 2 years back in September for 2 years, and it was nice because Brad already had 2 years, so I thought that's perfect. Even when I started with Castrol Honda, it was more of a year thing, but like now you get your deal sorted out in August, September. With Neil, it was like you'd finish the last race, and then 2 weeks after last, right fellas, this is what we're going to do. And that was that. So you never really knew what was going to happen until probably November, December. So, and yeah, still, then you just carry on like that. So yeah, it's like a 2-year cycle sort of thing. So it gives you a little bit of security, you know. So yeah, pretty good, yeah.
We'll do what we did with Matt. We've covered off this last year, so we'll go full circle. Let's launch it right back to the beginning. You did a great job, and thank you when you put the notes together with the little stories as well. So helpful. For any future guests, this is the way to do it. Send me your career and send me some stories, because I don't know everything, and it's you guys that know what's going on. So we've got all of these to go through. We're going to be here for a while, so make sure you need to settle in on this one. Pup, take me back to the beginning.
Well, let's start with why Pup. So when I first started I didn't actually start Castrol, I started at Honda Britain. I tell you what, let's go back how I got the job.
There you go.
Oh, actually, how I started. Let's go from the beginning. Okay.
Let's go back to college.
Yeah. So,
I'll put that down for now.
well, yeah, I did A-levels. I wanted to be a quantity surveyor.
Okay.
I was into construction. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved road building. My granddad, he was a carpenter, a little bit different, of course, but I loved working my hands. I loved it. And then I was going to university or polytechnics in the day, and I'd looked around Leeds, Nottingham, Sheffield, and I thought, oh, you know, and I thought, I had to get A-levels, and I did A-level geography and economics, and I passed geography, but I just failed economics, so I needed to do a foundation year and all this. And to be fair, I was too busy messing around with motorbikes, and I thought, I'm coming to a crossroads now. What do I do? Do I go to take a year and go to do a foundation course and try and get to university, or do I take a year off and see what happens? So I thought, right, I'll take a year off. I got a job in a sandwich factory, making triangle sandwiches, you know, just local. And then I thought, I had a RGV 250 road bike, fantastic bike, my dream bike, rizzed around on that, and I had good friends, Darren North, another guy, Stephen Johnson. We used to rip around on these bikes. And then Darren says, oh, I'm going to go racing. So I went, okay. So he did a few club races, and I thought, yeah, I'll have a go at that. So I sold my 250 and bought a 250 off Matt Godley, who is the top two-stroke in the Supersport 400 days, because back then he used to have Supersport 400.
Yeah.
Four-stroke 400s or 250. And he was the top 250, and he lived in Chesterfield, wasn't far away. So I went and bought this bike, sold my bike, bought this racing bike, proper kitted up bike. And then I went with Darren North in the van, and we did Super Teens, 94 Super Teens, the year Scott Smart was champion. I was crap. I was rubbish. But I was more interested in fixing the bike and like that. Darren had a ZXR 400, and I had a 250. I enjoyed it, but I was just not talented and had the balls to do it. I wasn't even average. I was rubbish. But I enjoyed it and enjoyed the thing. And Darren, he was really good. He actually beat Scott Smart. We did the British Grand Prix support race at Donington Park, which was great. And we were in the exhibition centre as a paddock inside, and it was fantastic. And anyway, it was sort of spitting me rain, a little bit wet on the track, and everybody thought Scott Smart was going to win it. Well, that was the plan, because then the prize for winning this was the Team Great Britain ride with the Ron Aslam's team.
Of course.
At Pembury.
Yeah.
I think there was James Hayden on the bike, Nick Hopkins on the YZF, and the prize, and it was all geared around Scott Smart. He was the future, you know. And my mate, Darren North, beat him. And everybody's like, oh, okay.
I wasn't supposed to.
So a young plumber who works at the hospital from Worksop has won this Team Great Britain ride at Pembury. And so we went down and did that while we were doing Super Teens, and had a great year. And I thought, wow, this is not for me. I really need to think of what I need to do with my career. The sandwich factory was rubbish. It was just money to go racing. I mean, it was just means to an end. And so anyway, and Darren did really well. So then he picked up a little bit in, I won't say tragic circumstances, but Mick Walker Racing, his son unfortunately got killed at Brands Hatch on the start line, and then he wanted to continue with the bike. So Darren got a ride with Mick Walker Racing on the RS250 for 95, and I thought, oh, this is a good opportunity. So when I spoke to Mick, obviously I wasn't getting paid, it was just, and then I thought, right, what should I do? Right, I need to think of something here. So I decided to quit my job and go to East Yorkshire College in Bridlington, which is a motorcycle engineering college. Okay, it's more road bike stuff, but they did racing projects with Dean Ashton from Hull, on the Black Sea Ducati, some other bits and bobs, and one of the tutors was into racing. So I thought, as you know, to start in motorbike racing is difficult, and to move up the ladder, it's difficult. So you need anything, just an edge or something, just to put on your CV to show you're committed to do it, because you know, people start in different ways, and it's more luck than judgment. So I thought, right, let me work with Daz for a year. Let me go to the college, learn more about, you know, and got something on the CV. So we did that, and it was great up there. I had a great time. Met Skip, you know, have you heard of Skip? Anthony Watt, I met him there. He'd come from Australia, and he
spoke about it.
Yeah, he went on to work with Bayliss, Hodgson, Toseland.
They run a dealership.
He's
in
Australia, in Perth. Yeah, huge place. Yeah. So we saw him at Phillip Island actually 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah, so I met him there, and it's fantastic. We had a great time. So I lived in Bridlington. And then, because bizarrely it was like a course was only 21 hours, so you could claim an unemployment benefit and housing benefit because it was a short course. But you had to apply for jobs like you do, like job seekers. So I thought, wow, I'll keep firing CVs out and letters. So I sent one to Neil Tuxworth in Louth. You never think he's gonna, crikey, Neil Tuxworth.
This is Neil Tuxworth, this is Honda, this is what it's all about.
I'm working for British Championship, not unpaid. Neil Tuxworth's never gonna ring me up. So anyway, I think it got to the end of the season, and I always remember the phone call, because in them days, I didn't have a mobile phone, nothing, no internet. And we're going to Paget's. So Daz had come round in his little Renault Traffic, and we're going to Paget's. He needed a rear wheel or something. I can't remember the story. So let's go and drive up to Batley. So just before I left, the phone rang, right? So I lifted it up. I remember it in the kitchen. Hello, it's Neil Tuxworth. Okay. I've got your CV. Would like to meet up for a chat about something potential for next year. Can you get to the Ali Pali road racing show? It's crap, was it? Impersonation Neil, that one, rubbish. Don't really talk like that. Anyway, so I thought this is a wind-up. I thought he's been mate or something, Anyway, he said, no, come to Ali Pali. You used to have a road racing show. I don't do that anymore.
No, no, the one, it's XL now, and it's not a patch on what the road racing show was, because that was the big one for racing. Instead of the NEC was more for the manufacturers.
So anyway, Daz was in the van waiting for me, and I said, what? I said, you ever guess what? Neil Tuxworth rung me up. He's getting on, don't be stupid. So seriously, yeah. So anyway, went to Paget's. Anyway, went back to college. And then we had a trip from the college to go to Ali Pali. So I got on the bus, so it was fine. I didn't have to pay or anything. It was win-win, wasn't it? So
It's different to your kid, because he had to pay his way down there.
So I gets on the bus, went down there, and I didn't tell any of the lads at college, because I thought, God, they're going to be like, And I remember they had like a small hospitality truck, what they used to use for their World Superbikes. In them days, the hospitality was tiny, but they had it inside the Ali Pali, a bit of a stand with the race bikes on, and I was like a bit nervous, and it gets to the steps of this truck, and Jenny Simmons, she was the secretary there. What do you want? What are you doing here? I'm like, come see Neil Tuxworth. Oh, right, okay, I'll let you, So I went up these stairs, and Neil said, right, okay, I've got your CV. We've got this project with an Irish rider called Alan Morrison, who actually became on to become a touring car driver. Alan Morrison, he's got RS250. We want to support him, and wondered if you want to be his mechanic. And I'm like, wow, yeah, it's great. Okay. Well, can you come to Louth next week when we finish the show or whatever? And then I went back to college, and I was thinking, God, this is great. I can't believe this. I went back to college, and then I drove down to Louth from like a proper interview. So I go in, there's Neil Tuxworth, Adrian Gorst, who's was Colin's crew chief, now he's at the interview. And we sat there, and he said, something changed a little bit. Oh, flipping heck, damn. And he said, the thing with Alan's not really working out, so we're not going to do that now. But Philip McCallen needs a mechanic. You're going to be based here. At the end here, we've had a new unit built. And basically, you're going to be based there, looking after Philip's TT bike in the Northwest, and looking after that thing. Okay. I'm like, and then, what's your aspirations and all that? So, well, I'd really like to get into World Superbike. I thought, because obviously next door was World Superbike, there's the bikes there and all that. So, and this was probably, no, the bikes weren't there actually. It was February 96.
Okay.
So Neil said, right, okay, you've got the job. You're going to work with Philip McCallen, but there's one condition. I had really long hair.
Did you?
Really long hair, like a ponytail. Ridiculous. It was, I don't know what I was thinking.
I can't even imagine that.
He said, you've got the job, but it's a Japanese policy that you have to cut your hair. And I'm thinking, mate, I would have cut my right arm off. Whatever. Yeah, it's fine. Cut it off now, Neil. You know what I mean? I was like, just cut it off now. And then I went, right, okay. So do you want to have a look around the workshop? And then, to be fair, when I got to the workshop, I thought, I expected something grand. And it's not like, I don't know if you've been to the new workshop, it's not new, but in Louth,
they didn't let us in.
Really?
No. That went. Yeah. But, Harv was out and Chris Pike was on holiday.
Ah, right.
So they wouldn't let us in.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. But the other place.
He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
The girl was like, no.
Oh, really? Yeah, you haven't been there for a long time. So it was just a set of industrial units.
Yeah.
It was like a bit nondescript. I'm thinking, wow, this is a World Championship team. And I thought, I wasn't super impressed, to be honest, with the thing. You drove in, and Chris Fairman, who's a sponsor of Billy McConnell, he's got an MOT centre there. Like, see how small the world is, He's there. He's taken a car from
Prince of Life.
Yeah, exactly. he was there, and there was just cars everywhere, and there was a race truck, but it was not really what I thought it would be, but it wasn't about that.
Yeah,
it was
about
about
conceived idea.
Exactly. It was about being in this team. So Neil said, right, let's have a look round anyway. And I'm thinking, I've got a job. I need to live here. Bloody hell. Anyway, Mark Whitfield was there, who was working, he was an Aaron Slight mechanic. And he goes, oh yeah, I'm Dog. All right. Now we're coming to the foot thing. I'm Dog. I've just moved into a Muse cottage. I've got a spare room. Here's the key. I'll be back Monday, but you can come Sunday if you want. I went, okay. And he gave me the key, right? It spoke to him 30 seconds. He gave me a key to his house, explained where it was.
Yeah.
I think it was a beginning of the week. I raced back up to Bridlington, packed my stuff, went home, packed some more stuff, and then drove down to Louth for Sunday night and went into this little cottage. I thought, God, this is great. Fantastic. This is my home. And then the rest is history sort of thing. And then I went to work, and I wasn't thinking, right, so where do I start? And what happened was Neil had built this, let me start, 95, Colin Seeley ran the Honda BSB project with Borley and Ian Simpson. It was based in Shenstone, which is Leicester. Yeah,
that's right.
And basically, it didn't really work out. I think it was a little bit over budget. I'm not too sure what the circumstances, but everything came back from that team and was in this unit. And this unit was brand new. It didn't even have a floor in it, and it needed painting, and everything was stacked up here. And so Harvey Beltran, he came in, and he said, right, so this is your new home, if you like. The plan is we need it painting. So we had to paint it, set it all up into workshop. I thought, oh, this is easy, So at the time, Craig Burton, he did some work for Honda before, and he went away and he'd come back. So he started a few weeks before. I said, you'll be working with Craig Burton. And bizarrely, I work with Craig Burton now at KTM. So over the 28-year period, we've worked on and off. So we started together, and now we're together now. It's quite a full circle. Anyway, they went off testing in, the World Superbike team went off testing in Malaysia, Shah Alam. So we just cracked on for a couple of weeks. We painted it, we put an airline in it. Harvey and Nat Neil came back and they're like, bloody hell, this is great. We put all these racking up shelving. There's all these RC45 parts. And I think there was a bit of a break. And what happened was the TT plan for that year was it was going to be Jason Griffiths, Nick Jeffries, Joey Dunlop, Philip McCallen. I think that's it. 4 or 5 riders, can't remember. But basically, Nick Jeffries had a bike, Jason Griffiths had a bike, Joey had his bike, but Philip's bike stayed in Louth, if you know what I mean. Okay. So they took their bikes, and Joey did what he wants with it. Nick, he had a mechanic. Jason Griffiths had a mechanic. But Philip's bike stayed in Louth. So I had to build from all these parts, and basically the World Superbike team built all the other bikes for Jason, and from the parts and the remnants of Ian Simpson's bike, Phil Borley bike. So I built a RC45 for the first race was Cuxton. In the meantime, so I was, setting all this up, and then I had a little office. I was 21. I'm like, this isn't real. I got an office, a phone, fax machine, and this little thing. And people are like, Joey Dunlop ring up. Say, oh, can you send Joey Dunlop? And he wants me to send him a set of triple clamps or something. And it's like, he's like, pinch me. It was just weird. It was just like 2 months before, I was in the common room reading NCN about Foggy joining Castrol Honda. Now I'm like in this team. Yeah. Anyway, so then finally I met Philip. He came over from Ireland, and Dennis Willey, he was Foggy's mechanic years ago, Honda Britain days. He was his mechanic, but only part-time because he's an RAC man. But he was Foggy's Philip's part-time mechanic. Right. TT. And he's bizarrely his son now will work with Matthew at Trackhouse. Now he's gone to Factory Yamaha, Colin. Yeah, another small world, isn't it? So for, Dennis Willey with me, he was like my mentor. He was fantastic. He put his arm around me, said, right, this is what we need to do, and really, to be fair, going back, looking back then, like Chris Pike, Harvey Beltran, Lick Goodison, Adrian Gorst, Ian Richards, all these people were massive for me. You couldn't do enough for you. They wanted you to succeed, and they helped you. And if it weren't for those, you wouldn't be. I wouldn't think I'd be here doing this now, because they really encourage you. And if you did make mistakes or you wasn't going the right way, it was not like, you know, you arsehole, he'd help you. And they were, you know, and Neil and everything. You can't say anything bad about them. They were fantastic for my career, you know, back then. And you still see them now. I'm still good friends with all of them, you know, and you see him knocking around and that. But anyway, let me go back. So anyway, Philip came over and he was a bit, this 21-year-old lad, he's going to work on my bike. Anyway, obviously he's a bit skeptical. And anyway, he was running Motorcycle City 600s. Yeah. So he said, look, do you want to come to the BSB rounds, do that, and then do because really there was a TT bike, but I wasn't really doing much in between, just sorting the workshop out, taking phone calls, posting stuff. He said, do you want to come and do this? Yeah, I'll do that. It's fine. So we did Donington. I think we won the first round at Donington Park. I thought, this is quite good, the first thing. Anyway, so first race with the RC45, Cuxton 100. So we goes to Ireland, and I'm like, right, flipping out. So we pulled up, parked in the field. I thought, flipping out. They opened the gate.
Where's the rest of it?
Yeah, anyway. And one of Philip's friend, he was an RUC officer, you know, like from the army, from the police.
From the police force, yeah.
So we stayed at his house and he was going like, we were driving along, so, oh, see that bullet hole there, do you see this, do you see this? And he was talking about all this thing, like, bloody hell. This
height of the troubles, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was just a little bit after, but obviously, anyway.
Oh, no, because Good Friday was 99, wasn't it? It was coming to an end. Yeah, so yeah.
So anyway, we did the Cuxton, and the first race, the rear wheel came loose in the RC45, and he pulled in. He said, the rear wheel's loose. And I'm like, and I thought, that was it. My career's over before it started. I thought, that's it. How am I going to tell Neil Tuxworth that the first event and the rear wheel had come loose? And I swore blind, you know, 180 Newton meters, total range this long. I did, 100% I did it. Anyway, so we had one more race. So I overtimed it, I Loctited it, I wrapped bloody lock wire, taped around lock wire, and then he won the race, I think. Anyway, it comes to, it wasn't my fault, which was great. It was the taper between the wheel and the nut was the wrong angle. The taper was wrong.
Right.
So it wasn't have the full contact area. And it was a known sort of fault. So, and when we're going back, Dennis Willis said, yeah, we had issues before with this.
Right.
Before,
well, that's, yeah.
The previous year, and we rectified it. So obviously it's not this new batch of wheels. Anyway, I'm not mentioning who the wheels were. So anyway, we sent all the wheels back. They all got remachined. End of story. That was done. So I was like, thank God for that. But I did get a lot of stick when I got back to Louth in the workshop. And
can't imagine it's your first race on the roads at Cookstown, and all of a sudden you've got to. Well, then, in fairness to you for fixing it and making it stable, then you go out and win the race. That kind of negates the issue that you had before.
Yeah, but I was shitting myself.
No, I don't doubt it.
And you did the Cuxton, and I thought, wow. And then the next was the Northwest, and yeah, we made sure that everything was spot on for the.
That's only 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I was loving life. We did the BSB, sort of a 600 class with Philip, Motorcycle City. Then it was next to the big event for me was the Northwest 200. So we went over there. I think we won one race. Yeah, and then we had a 250 from Paget's, brand new out the crate, and that was so labour intensive because I had to do that as well because there's not that many mechanics. Philip had.
They're working on 2 strokes and 4 strokes. So.
Yeah. So we had this 250. That was such a labour of love, that, and I think I can't remember what happened results wise, but it was so bad. Anyway, we did the Northwest, and then when we was packing, I always remember this is a story. So we all around. There was Steve Plater, Roger Marshall, Philip, all these Irish contingent, and we're all back. You had this big Mercedes van, huge van it was, and we're having a Guinness or something in the back of the van, and then one of his mates, can't remember his name, he was at the side of the van, and the battery used to be like in the sort of footwell of the van. Anyway, we were having a drink, and then all of a sudden, boom! What the, Jesus Christ! And the battery exploded, and this guy got all the acid in his face.
No.
Seriously. And he's like running around, and Roger Marshall just got his pint of Guinness and threw it in his eyes, and he got it out like that.
Wow.
And I was like, and then Philip's like, Jesus Christ, all acid on me, van, get off in this V&M truck, this Jack Valentine, there's acid on me. And they're like, this poor lad's running around with acid in his hand. All they were worried about was the acid up the side of the vans. You know, they want to knacker the paintwork on the vans. And anyway, the next day we saw him, poor lad, and he went to hospital, they put some drops in, he was just puffed up round here, but he didn't lose his sight.
Oh, that's good.
But like, bloody, it was so low. I mean, it's just, he just instinctively threw his pint in his face, which I thought is...
That's unusual for Reg.
Yeah, I thought that. I think they're frivolous with his...
Wasted it by a Guinness for Reg.
Yeah, so that was a bit, that was a good story. And so then we came back from the Northwest. It was great. And then Philip used to pop from Ireland now and again. And I'd be in the workshop and he'd like, come on, Pop, let's go and get your haircut. Let's go and see Big Leslie. Okay. And then he'd take us into town, go and see Big Leslie. He used to pay for my haircut. Right, let's go get a cheese toastie. I mean, Philip on the track was an animal, but off the track, he was the most nicest. To me, it was fantastic. You know, after get off the bike saying 600, you know, at Thruxton. I go over to him at Thruxton. Right, what do you want for dinner? And you get in, knock me some pasta up, and it was brilliant. You know, you never see that side of him. You just see this angry riding.
He was angry Northern Irishman.
Like, but he was such a good for me. He was fantastic, and still to this day, I don't really I've seen him or speak to him now and again, very rarely. But when I always do, he actually was a KTM dealer thing with Pit Byra last year.
Okay.
And they were talking about me, about how Philip sort of claimed that it was because of him, why he's at KTM now and all this, you know, because
all because of
because Pop, this.
Of course it is, yeah.
Yeah, so but anyway, so this was great. So I was doing this, coming back, you know, hanging out with all the World Superbike guys. It was great living in Louth, and then Foggy's mechanic was Slick Bass, and you know, when you're that age and you always think, you know, he'd been before. It was like the Britpop era, you know, Oasis, Foggy. It was great. And
he was one of probably the earliest well-known celebrity mechanic.
Then it was Alex Briggs, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, it was like a celebrity. So then it was, you know, and then he used to come to our little cottage and have a drink. And then that's when Pup came about, because I lived with Mark Whitfield. He's Mark, and he was called Dog. I don't want to probably find out or know why he was called Dog. I left that. But I was called Mark, and I was younger than him, so I was Pup. And that's how it started. So Slick. And ever since that day, in racing, that's always been Pup. Even like, okay, on my contract, it's Mark Lloyd, but on the envelope, it's Pup.
Brilliant.
From Honda, from KTM.
All the way through.
Yeah. So he gave me the name, and we were having a ball. It was like fantastic, you know, working with these guys and hanging out with them, drinking, and a lot of drinking. And then it was the TT. And yeah, that was a big thing, you know, TT, Honda, massive. On the, you know, Honda were really that's their
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So we went over with the RC45, Fireblade 600, and this bloody 250. So we goes over there, and we was in the steam packet company, sort of like an old workshop. You know, these pistons from ships, and like, you know, like massive pieces of engine from a ship, all dusty. You know, like proper great, you know, it's fantastic. So we set up in there. You didn't have any paddling in them days, no floor, and you just put your bike in there and you worked on it, you know. Because now I think they have to be in the paddock now in trucks. Yeah,
they do, yeah.
Then them days, you used to have like people all over the
They're all over the island, weren't they?
And then you had like
you
a
could
base.
do your own thing.
Yeah, so we was near the port, and we used to ride I used to ride the Fireblade up to this, you know, you hit the traffic lights on Motorcycle City Fireblade, and Philip McCallen's bike. All right, yeah, just ride it on the road. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? You know,
yeah, you have to be behind on all the hard stand in between the grandstand and Nobles Park. Everything is up there.
Yeah.
Which is great because it keeps everything together, but there's no separation there.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. So I was in there, and we had a good practice, and then this 250. So this 250. So I'm not saying any names or what happened, but insufficient amount of gearbox oil was put into the gearbox, okay? So we didn't know this. Philip went out, Union Mills, thing stops, comes back, he said, oh, the gearbox broke. Okay, change the oil. Well, was a little bit of oil. Anyway, I don't want to, so, right, we need to fix this. And obviously, it damaged everything. So the bearings, everything. It was toast, you know. So Philip, it's the only TT actually what Philip's never won. And that's one he wanted to win. He was so fixed on winning the 250 at the TT, the junior, I think it was then. And he was so, you know, so we need to fix this. Yeah, but Philip, we need bearings, we need everything. No, we'll get them. So we spent a day, all these Irish mates, Paget's, we got all the bits. Dennis Willie's there. So we had to rebuild this 250 engine. So we'd stripped we'd won the F1. Philip, great, you know, I thought, this is good, this, isn't it? Not bad.
You should know.
But I'm a TT winner, you know. So we stripped the bike, engine, because Tony Scott, he did the engines. He was on the island, he had a little garage. Yeah. So we had to take the engine out. He said, I'll give it a little refresh. He did a top end and all that. So he did the top end of the bike, and then, so we all the parts on this wooden bench with a bit of paper over it, you know. So we built this 250, and so there's Dennis with a heat gun, heating the cases up to drop the bearings in. He said, right, Pup, you hold the bearing, and just cool them down with a contact cleaner. So I'm, okay, shh. Whoosh, the thing caught fire. The bench, all the paper on the bench, probably like 5 meters of paper just caught fire. Whoosh, like, oh, shit. He's like, get the bearing in the case. All my hair on my arms was singed. Just drop the bearing. Yeah, but it's fine. Just drop it in. So we dropped the bearing in the case, the output shaft bearing or whatever it was, and we dropped it in. Anyway, she says, right, be careful next time when we do it. We'll put it in a bit, you know, so we put the bearing in the other side of the case. Same again. Just shh. But there must be that much vapor. Whoosh! Flames everywhere again. Burns. Get the bearing. Don't worry about it. Just, I had all singed arms anyway. This bloody 250. So then we go to race it. We had two different pipes. We had an HRC pipe or a Samba pipe. The Samba pipe was a little bit bigger expansion chamber. And we ummed and ahed, and just before the race, I want the Samba pipes on. Okay, adjust the jetting, whatever. He was leading the race. I think it was Bagaro. Boom! Hit the bottom. Massive hole in the exhaust. And I thought, right, it's going to seize up or stop. And he carried on, and I think he finished 4th in the end, but he was leading it by quite a way. And then after that, he never won the 250 race. I think there's only one so it was super unlucky. And then we won the 600, won the super, was it super stock? It would have been super stock then, was it? The fire, called super stock? Yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it?
Formula One?
No, the Fireblade.
Well, the Fireblade would have been stock, wouldn't it?
Yeah, stock, yeah. And then in the last race of the week was the senior. Yeah. And we won that. So anyway, but after the F1, Philip said, yeah, the bike, it's not handling right. There's the shock, it's not right. And also this is a little bit hesitant coming out of the gooseneck and out of tighter corners. There's something not right with it. So we investigated, and there was some leak, something leaking in the injector. We got some, Dave Ankle said, whatever you need, just get it. Because he was the boss then. He said, you know, whatever you need, so I went to Paget's, ordered these bits. We rebuilt the injector system. Then the shock, I said, well, Philip, we had 6, 7 shocks, and I sent them because we were Showa suspension. They were serviced in Barcelona. So I sent them away, but there's still 2 haven't come back. So he said, I need them shocks. If I need to win the race, I need that shock. I need a fresh shock. So I'm like, okay. It's in Louth. It's like a day before the senior. So anyway, Dave Hancock. So and they were on the bench, because Jenny Simmons, I think, was there. Somebody said, yeah, they're there, but it was too late to post them.
Yep.
Yeah. So Dave Hancock said, don't worry, I'll sort it out. Leave it with me. Okay. Right, Pup, you're going to fly back to Louth and pick it up and bring it back. I went, right, okay. Like EasyJet, you know, Manx Air. No, Doug Holtham, who was Top Gun Ducati guy at the time. He had his pilot's license, and he was in a little consortium where they could rent and hire planes, and you put money in and you could take it when you. So I went, really? He went, yeah. So we goes to the Douglas, the airport, and this little plane, and with Doug Holtham, never met him before, got chatting to headphones on. And he said, right, I said, well, I guess it's Humberside Airport. It's 30 minutes from Louth. He went, yeah. So he gets in the runway. He said, right, I'll just test the engine, revs it up. And obviously the engine's spinning and the thing's like trying to turn, like, I'm shitting myself. This fucking, sorry, language, but this plane.
Pulling the choke out.
Take off, and he said, right, we need to go to Blackpool Airport because we're going to swap planes. Okay, so we landed in Blackpool, and we got a little slightly bigger plane, not much bigger, and then we carried on, followed the M62, like looking down and
right thing.
Yeah, and I was listening, and you could hear other planes, and it was great. And anyway, we landed at Humberside. Doug said, I'll wait here, and you get a taxi. So I got a taxi to Louth, 2 shocks, got them, put them in my thing. Taxi back to Humberside Airport. Then Doug said, we'll go back to Isle of Man on this plane. We don't need to get back. So we flew back in, got back sort of tea time before the senior, bolted it in, and he won the race the next day.
Incredible.
And I was like, wow, what a year I'm having.
This is back
actually 6 months. 6 months, I'm like flying like a superstar, like little private jets, picking parts up. And it was like, wow, this is great. Anyway, it was a dream for me. 4 wins in a week.
Never been done before at that point, had it?
No, until
Hutch did.
Yeah, that's correct. And we did that, and it was like, this is what a week. And then Philip gave me 200 quid. Well, 200 quid was a lot in them days for me. And they went to massive dinner at the golf club afterwards, all these sponsors. I thought, God, I love him. I'm loving life now. This is great. This is really, really good. And then the plan was obviously to carry on with Philip, and then the next big one was the Ulster.
Yeah.
But at the time, there was a bit of friction in Castrol Honda because Slick didn't conform to the Honda way of working, let's just say. A few things happened. Yeah, I could tell you this story, I think. This is a good story. So, sort of pre-season, Neil said to us, right, I'd already been there a week. He said, right, guys, we're going to go to Holland, to Assen, to watch the ice racing. Because Neil loved that, so it was a bit of a thing for him to go and watch it. But he thought, I prefer put it through an expenses if it's a team building thing. You know? So we went to Assen, went up the ferry with Slick and everybody. Anyway, a couple of days before, Slick had all the chief engineers or chief mechanics, or you want to call them, had a company car. So you had a beautiful CRX, you know, the roof used to be in the boot.
Yeah, nice.
Adrian had a car, we had a car. Anyway, he'd been at my house, and he used to live in Neil's parents' farm, Slick. All the mechanics had a little house out in the sticks, and he used to live there. Anyway, Slick drove back there and somehow put it upside down in the ditch. This beautiful CRX car, brand new, upside down. Anyway, he sort of brought it back to the workshop. It was knackered, and it was parked in the corner. So anyway, the guy from Honda UK he came on this trip. He was called John Lewis, bizarrely. So anyway, we just parked the car. He parked the car there. Anyway, but we met John Lewis somewhere else. Anyway, so we went to Assen, had a great time, went on the ferry, got drunk and all that, come back. And for some reason, John Lewis came on the bus back with us, and he's like, it's a Louth. Anyway, so we getting off the bus in the car park Louth. He sees this CRX all crushed, and Slick's like, holy shit. So Slick off the bus, jumped over the fence. He didn't follow it. He just ran off. Like that, not that he was never going to see it again.
Judging to that point.
And John Lewis is like, Mike, this car, you know, he was scared to tell him that he'd crushed it. But that was a funny story. So anyway, that led to his downfall. And then Neil said, look, Slick, it's not working out. You know, he's Foggy's main man.
Absolutely.
Foggy's like, well, what can I do? You know, I mean, it's what it is. So Slick was gone. And then the engine build at the time was Nick Goodison. So they moved Nick up to chief mechanic. No, it wasn't chief, it's like chief engineer.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they brought a guy from Keith Whiting, who was next door developing, what was he doing? He was doing something. Anyway, he worked for Neil doing some development anyway. They brought him to the team. But anyway, I thought, well, I don't expect to go. I've only been here 6 months. I didn't even, you know. So anyway, they did a couple of races, and thing is, no disrespect to Neil, to Keith, it wasn't him. He was more of a workshop plodder. And it didn't really work out for him. And
different dynamic in the team, isn't it?
Yeah, and he didn't really get on with it. So Neil called me into the office. This would be in July, just after TT got back, you know, coming down. And Neil called me office, and he went, yeah, really pleased, TT, it's great, 4 wins, la la. He says, Keith's not going to go to any more races now, but do you want to do it? And I'm like, sorry? He said, yeah, you want to be working with Foggy, and you're going to Laguna Seca next week. And I'm like, yeah. And then he said, I remember the interview, you said you wanted to work in World Superbike, now's your opportunity. I thought, God, I'm glad I said that.
You're kind of expecting it maybe next year or the year after. You're not 6 months in, and all of a sudden your first race is Laguna.
Yeah. So that was great. I had to make sure I had a passport and all that, and then went to Laguna with Foggy, and then that was it. Did the season with Foggy. Fantastic. Really, really good. We had a great year. Won a few races, did the double at Assen, I think.
You did?
So in a year.
That's why I was just checking.
Yeah.
I'd written it down.
So it was like, won a TT, won a couple of World Superbike races, and it's like, yeah, I haven't finished the year yet. You know, it's like, this is like a dream.
But that's more than some mechanics get in their whole career.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, there's a couple of guys I work with, and he was desperate to win a World Championship. And yeah, it's not easy. Some people go through the career and don't win any championship. I mean, it's not the be all end all, but it's just nice to do it. It's nice to do it.
Yeah, it's what you go racing for. You go racing to win. It's as simple as that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the planets have to line up because there's so many different variables: manufacturer, rider, support. Yeah. There's so many different variables, but when they line up, they line up.
Yeah, and and I think one thing or another, it didn't really work out for Fogarty. He didn't get on with the Honda. He finished. He had a chance of winning it, but.
Fourth overall, didn't he?
Yeah, Troy Corse won it on the Power Horse Ducati. Anyway, we finished the season. Foggy. Then they announced Foggy was going back to Ducati. Then what's going to happen now? So we had a big end of season. So Phillip Island was the last round. We had a big end of season party with everybody, all the teams in Banfields, and Gobert was there, pictures of Gene Beam and Coke, just carnage. And then they did this, everybody had to say, right, they had to mention somebody's name, and they had to get up, and whatever they had in the hand, they had to skull it. So Lester Harris, he was a Suzuki team, but
yeah, he was.
Lester Harris, he drank a pint of VB. Harvey Beltran, whatever, white wine spritzer.
Half a Coke.
Yeah. Neil Tuxworth. So Neil got the flowers, took the flowers out of the thing and drank the water from the flowers. It's just like fantastic.
Those are the time.
Yeah.
Those are what make racing.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
What you do is difficult.
Yeah. I love Neil Tuxworth. He was a good boss, a really good boss, tough boss. We had to, watch the pennies, but if you was all right with him, he was always right with you. And same with Harvey, the great people. We had such good fun. And with Harvey, I looked at Neil, he was like, it's Neil Tuxworth.
Yeah.
And Harvey used to be ripping the piss out of the things he did to him. Like, tie wrapping the seat in the car so when he accelerated, the thing shot back, and unscrewing the bed legs. Like Phillip Island, he unscrewed the bed legs and Neil would get into bed in the thing, and just two on each side, and Neil would roll out of bed, and he used to...
Wait while I see Harv next. I've got to sit down with Harv in a new year.
I saw Harvey at Alton Park, last Alton Park meeting, and we were talking about, because I had my friend from Australia with me, and we were talking about those days, and because he managed the hotel, this is my friend, and he said, we used to go to them rooms, there'd be beds, the maids come in, there'd be beds on the side, there'd be broken stuff, there'd be stuff everywhere.
Now Harv's the boss, it's like butter wouldn't melt, isn't it? He's like, he has budgets and things now. But
we talked to Harvey, and he said that same snigger and that same schoolboy laugh like he had back 25 years ago, you know what I mean? And he's just laughing and tears in his eyes remembering them things with poor old Neil.
I find that with Harv a lot is that he has his Honda face.
Yeah.
But when you get him laughing, it's so far away from the Honda face, you end up laughing with him.
Yeah.
Because his face just lights up. I know a few people like that.
No, he's good. So we had a great year. I mean, it was fantastic. And then obviously, what happens next? I've done a year, and what's going to happen now? He didn't know. I didn't really understand now. It was all a whirlwind. I didn't understand do I stay now, or do what happens, or are they happy with me to continue, or I had no feedback.
Well, this is the interesting thing about joining Honda, and I had the same conversation with Matt. And of all the mechanics, we know so many that have gone through Honda.
Yeah.
That was the catalyst for so many people's career, because if you'd gone to a not factory team, just to a standard superbike team, the career would have been so different.
Yeah.
The achievements might not have been where they were, but that springboard that Honda have given so many mechanics over the years was pivotal to what you're going on to next.
I mean, of course, like my brother, he lives in Louth. Yeah. Craig Burton was from Louth. Chris Pike, he lives in Louth. Harvey Beltran, all these guys who've gone through there, still live there, and
Chunky,
in law,
Steve Blackburn,
Steve Blackburn was from Skeg Vegas.
Oh, is he a Skeg Vegas boy?
That was another thing. Which I know Steve really well, but because he's been working with Pedro Costa. Yeah. But back in the day, he was I didn't want to say back. I hate that word, back in the day. Can you edit that out? I hate that. Anyway, back in 96, 97, when I worked with Fogarty, I worked with a guy called Ian Richards, who was a very, very accomplished racer in his time. And he was on the TT podium with Agostini, Ian Richards. He was friends with George Harrison of the Beatles. He was Liverpoolian. He hung around in all those circles. He was a uber cool guy, Ian Richards. He was a really, I don't know if you've heard him, but if you look back at Ian Richards, he was Foggy's mechanic.
Not a name that comes to mind.
He was a very, 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 more probably like 70s and 80s, 70s, 80s, well, Agostini time, when it put the 70s, Yeah, he was on the podium at the TT. He used to sometimes take the RC45 up to Cadwell and run it in, because he was the only decent rider with us. But he was getting on a bit, Ian. I've digressed now, what was I talking about?
Because I digressed you a little bit there. You were moving on to the following year.
Oh, yeah. So, the following year. So then, Neil called us in and said, right, we're going to have John Kocinski. I'm like, oh. But Ian Richards wanted to retire. That was it. Ian Richards was retiring. And it was a bit weird with Ian, because he had a wife, but we didn't think he had a wife, but he had a wife. They never divorced, but they weren't together. But then they decided to get together, and he moved to Singapore because that's where she worked.
Right, okay.
She was from Liverpool.
Yeah.
Lovely girl, lovely lady Gail. Anyway, so Ian left, retired, and then Kocinski came, and he wanted to bring this guy called Machi. He was a Japanese guy, big set guy. He'd worked for Eddie Lawson at Kajiva. He was a good guy, and John knew him from, I guess, when John was at Kajiva, because he was on Kajiva.
That's right, he was, yes.
So he came but like when I look back in then, like with Fogarty, like now we've got a team of 40 people, 45 at the track. There was, like on our side, there was Nick Goodison, there was me, there was Ian Richards, and Craig Burton in the middle doing the tyres, and then Chris Pike doing the data, which was not much data in them days, you know what I mean? And then like 10 of us, like, you know, for both sides of the garage, and you win a world championship or you win races. It's weird.
Crazy, isn't it? How things have changed.
So anyway, this kid was like, "Whoa, this is going to be a bit interesting." And then I was building engines. Then that was my job then. So I was the engine builder because Nick had moved up.
Yeah.
So then Kocinski came, and then the next year, starting 97, I think they tested in Laguna Seca, but I had to go to HRC for the first time to build the engines. And then the guys were going to come from Laguna to build the frames, because obviously we used to build the engines a week before, and then they come and build the bike and just slot them in. And then went to Japan, and Pete Benson, he was working with Aaron Slight. So he was on the other side, engine builder. And I mean, I built engines, but I wasn't like a top engine builder, you know, and I'm like there at HRC, but I had good teachers, and, you know, so we built these bikes for Kocinski, then went testing, and it was odd. He never speak to any of us for like 2 or 3 races. It was like, and then it sort of warmed a little bit, and then we didn't sort of suck up to him. We thought, right, what was he? So when we used to set an airline up next to his corner, because, you know, he was a bit of a clean freak, so he wanted to, you know, so we set him an airline up. We did other few bits and bobs for him, you know. Then he warmed a little bit, and then one day Craig Burton's doing the tyres. He says, "Who's this guy?" He said, "It's the guy who's been doing your tyres for the last three events." He went, "Oh, right, okay," and he thought he was sabotaging it or something. Anyway, he warmed up, and then next thing, he's ringing Craig up, his best buddy. "Oh, it's my peanut bars and my Simple Green in the truck," and he'd ring up, and ring up Neil, say, "Hi, John, it's Craig Burton there. I need to make sure my stuff." "Oh, okay," and then they were like best buddies, you know. It was bizarre, but I mean, yeah, okay, John had his quirks, but he was a great rider. He was
a rider.
And the story, we started in 97. We went testing, and we testing fork tubes.
Yep.
Like different rigidity fork tubes, you know, to get more feeling and all this. So we tried these fork tubes, and they were blue, like really like a nice blue colour. But there was too much flex on the brake, you know, a little bit better turning, blah, blah, blah. They were just a little bit too weak. So we discarded them. And then went to Phillip Island for the first race, and it was raining. I think it was raining one session. And he said, "I want to try them blue forks again, because I think they're going to be good in the wet." And he went, "Yeah, I really like them." So morning before the race, it started to rain. "I want them forks in." So, you know, normal wet setting, spring, preload, whatever. Now it was a fork change. And it's like, oh my God. So like, you know, sometimes you ain't got, you know, you're rushing around to putting a set of forks in. And then first race in 97, he won it in the rain. He absolutely won it. We're like, wow, that's amazing, you know. And then he drove for the second race, and he finished 7th. But I thought, decent start to the year. And we had no idea he was going to be world champion. And we just went on, and then went to Mazzano. It rained again, blue forks. He won the race. It's like, tell you what, these blue forks are great, you know. Anyway, we carried on. Then we had some, and then he really got in the dry. He got used to the bike, and Nick Goodison was his crew chief.
Yeah.
I did the engines. Machi was his mechanic. Machi used to live in Japanese guy in the King's Head in Louth. He had a little one room, little mouse used to bring cheese to it. You know, they used to feed his mouse. He used to take him out. He was great. He loved it. John Smith and Machi. No, he loved Louth, Machi. Anyway, we went through the year, and then we had some good results, and he started getting the Foggy skin a little bit. Foggy was back on the Ducati, and John was like, because obviously he was on Foggy's bike.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Foggy was making a few mistakes, and then we went to Albacete, and we did the double, and I think Foggy fell off, and it was like, flipping out, it's match point here. We went to Sugo. If we can win this, but the thing then, when you look back, you didn't really think about it like, we're going to be world champion. I don't know, it's different nowadays, you know what I mean? Like, because when I look now, like, if you get a podium, you know, it's social media. You know, like now you get a podium. There's people in pit lane with pit boards, and the whole team. It's a 3rd place, but it's all about the social media. Back then,
it's all about content.
Yeah.
Content and engagement.
And we went to Sugo. I can't remember if we won or what, but anyway, won the race. But we were we won the World Championship. Sugo, we 1 race to go. Next was in Sentul, we world champion, but no picture in the pit lane. I ain't got one picture of in the pit lane with P1 or the team or nothing. I've got no recollection, no, in my brain, but no
of course.
physical recollection of ever doing it there, you know, and it was like, we're world champions. There's no big after.
No after party?
No, nothing. It was in the dungeon, we used to call it, or the prison, the Circuit Hotel. 3 of us in a room, probably smaller than this room, like next to each other. There's no wardrobe, there's everything on up. Yeah, it was terrible.
Nothing for the first World Championship
no,
for you, for Kocinski, for Honda.
And anyway, then the last race went to Indonesia, Sentul. He knocked Crayfar off in one of the races. I think it was the first or second race, knocked him off. And after the race, Brenty, who was actually Ross's mechanic in later years, he was Crayfar's mechanic. He came down, he wanted to fight, like, calm down, Brenty.
You're the big Pee-wee.
Yeah, that calm down, mate. It's not our fault, you know, and he was revving. And anyway, Kocinski won the championship. And then, I swear, right, after the race, he left the garage. And then we all went out into Jakarta, Hard Rock Cafe, Scott Russell on the stage, you know, big piss up, you know, it was fantastic, Foggy. You know, it was brilliant. All the Foggy's wife, everybody was there, you know, we had a massive party and all that. And Kocinski went, never saw him, right? And I swear to you, the first time I saw him was I went to Austin this year. 27 years later, he came in the garage in Austin with Jamie Robinson.
Yeah, of course.
Jamie Robinson was doing a little blog thing.
Yeah, doing MotoGP thing.
Yeah, and little John walks in. Hey, Pop! And it was like, my God, last time I saw you, you walked out the garage in Sentul, and now you're walking in here. Like, 27 years later, it was unreal. He was brilliant. He was fantastic. He had a new helmet. He was showing all the guys. He loved it.
Yeah.
He said, I want to get involved again in MotoGP. And
good, why not? Yeah. He's missed from the... He had his foibles, he had his cleanliness and everything, but everybody's different. Everybody's got something going on somewhere. But to walk away then and just nothing.
Yeah, then I never saw him, and that was weird. I tell you a good story. When we finished with Fogarty, so after last race was Phillip Island, last race of the year. So we had a test, 2-day or 3-day test a little bit afterwards, and Aaron could test because he was the thing, but Kocinski wasn't contractor, so we had a test rider on. So then we went out for dinner with Nakamoto, who was the project leader at the time, and then he went on to Formula One, and then he was in MotoGP, you know, a big figure in MotoGP. Anyway, so went out for dinner, said, oh, can we ride the bike? And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. And he said, no, can we? Like, you know, me, Chris, Harvo and whatever. And he's like, oh, and then we had more drink. He said, all right, you can ride the bike. So he anyway, but the thing was, Aaron's leathers wouldn't fit us, his helmets wouldn't fit us, so we said, right. So we went down in Phillip Island, went to this Harley Davidson shop, can we borrow some helmets? No, we haven't got any. He said, but there's a guy near the farm, near the track, he's got a farm, he used to have dirt bikes and stuff, he might have some helmets. So we went to this farm on the road to Phillip Island, and it was this big barn, and we went to, hey, we're from Castrol Honda, you got any helmets we can borrow for a couple of hours? He went, let me see. So we went in this dusty barn, with all these helmets, my God, they were like all scratched, they were dusty, and basically we're like making sure there's no red bike bloody spiders in them. So anyway, so we had helmets, we didn't have any leathers. But at the time we had these really like quilted overalls, like really nice. We used to go to the workshop in them. I don't know if you remember, I've still got a set downstairs. Beautiful they are, quilted, like a bit like a racing driver.
Like a Formula One.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of
all green and Castrol Honda. So we said, I'll just go in them. So we put this helmet on. I've got some pictures somewhere of this helmet, all scratched, overalls, and you could do 5 laps each. So I goes out and going down the straight Phillip Island. You can't see the sea. I'm going down Phillip Island really slowly. And I just got to the bridge and rolled off. And then go, oh, crikey, it's another like half a kilometre, you know what I mean? It's just, it was miles, you know what I mean, to the thing. I was so rubbish on it. And then Chris Pike got on it. He was really fast. He was like, he was like, because he was looking at the data, he was like, I know what to do here. And he went out.
Ones and zeros.
The only person who had the leathers on was Arai, Mr. Bamboo, the shower guy, because he was super thin Japanese. He put Aaron's leathers
so
on.
He could fit.
Helmet. He looked like, he went out. He was rubbish.
Super sub.
So we all did like 5 laps of this.
Cool.
Yeah, on Foggy's or whatever, Aaron's bike.
Yeah.
And we did that. And then the year later, we did, there was a journalist test after Sentul. I think, I reckon it was Mark Potter. I borrowed a set of leathers off Mark Potter or another big guy, and I did 5 laps on Kocinski's RC45.
See,
So,
that's the coolest thing. You work on them long enough, and very rare do the mechanics get to ride the bike.
Yeah, it's only
put
planned
so many hours into them.
And so everybody in the team had 5 laps on Kocinski's bike in the journalist test. And we did that. And ever since, I've never ridden a bike since, like on a race bike.
But even so,
it was a fantastic experience. Yeah,
it was a full factory bike.
Yeah.
Tell me about when you went to HRC to build the bike. Tuxworth gave you some directions.
Yes. So, yeah, it was starting 97. I could say the guys had gone to Laguna testing, but I had to go to Japan. So I was on my own. So he said, right, you need to, and then you didn't have a phone. I didn't have a phone or a GPS, nothing. So he wrote these, he says, right, you need to obviously land at Narita. You need to catch your train. And bear in mind, it's probably 2.5 hours from Narita Airport, HRC. So it's probably, I think it's 3 or 4 train journeys. Wow. And so I get on this train and he wrote all these instructions. That's super good. And then the last instruction was, he said, you'll come up the stairs, you'll see the bread shop, and you turn left. And then I company said, oh my God, it's the bread shop. And I was like, this is terrible. I don't know where I'm going. And I was thinking, am I in the right station? Am I in the right place? Am I the right? So I went over the bread shop, left. He said, you'll see a zebra crossing and you'll see the Persimmon Hotel. And you could just see it. And I'm like, oh, what a relief. Because I was like, because I think the first train, I got on the first train was the wrong train. So I saw some Americans and they didn't know where I was going. So I get to HRC and I was on my own until the guys came from Laguna. So I was there and I walked in. I always remember the HRC, you were like, you're very young, aren't you? Like, because I was like fresh faced 21 year old, and like normally 30-year-old guys. So we got there, ate it off, and then we did a couple of weeks there, built the bikes, and it was great. But these instructions, they were so detailed, nearly was proper. I got them out and I'm looking and the bread shop, fantastic.
Yeah. I got a message from Nigel Bosworth last week. He was with Tux, asking if I wanted to have him on the show. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, without question. But he's not come back to me about that yet. So hopefully we'll get Neil on the show as well.
I think a couple of years ago, I went to a birthday party up in Kennick in Louth. He was one of the mechanics, and he was there. He's good. Yeah, good. Nice to see him again. Yeah, he'd be good value.
I think he'd be good value. Yeah. Harv's still in charge, so his stories can't quite match at the minute because he has that position. But then moving on, then to what's coming up with 97, aren't we? Where you changed to Aaron Slight.
No, beginning. Well, that's another story. So 97, Kocinski. I thought he wanted to go to Grand Prix, but at the time, I spoke to him in Austin this year, and he said it was Kanazawa. He wanted him to go to Grand Prix.
Okay.
So
I thought I could hear somebody coming up the stairs there.
So you all right?
How are you, Ben?
Sorry to interrupt.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, you help yourself.
So Kanazawa said he had to go, and he went to Irv Kanemoto's team in MotoGP. Well, it wasn't MotoGP then. 500.
500 Grand Prix, wasn't it?
So we're like, right, what's happening now? So again, the end of the season, you don't know what's going on, and then Neil calls in the office, and Aaron had been with Adrian Gorst through the Kawasaki years, through the Honda years, and he'd been the sort of bridesmaid nearly. And it was nothing against Adrian. He just wanted a fresh start.
Yeah.
It was a bit, I'd say, controversial. So he didn't want to work with Adrian Gorst anymore. So Colin Edwards coming into the team, 98. So Adrian Gorst was moved to Colin. And then Norris Farrow came in, who was worked with, he was world champion with Fred Merkel in 89 on the Rumi Honda. And he worked with Simon Crafer when it was on the Rumi Honda, and then Doug Poland left. And that year,
then they moved on.
So he came back, Norris. And so there was me, Norris, and who's the other mechanic now? With us. I think it was, I can't remember. It'll come to me. And then, so we were on Aaron's side, so we made a change. So either he come to our side or we went to the side. And then Adrian Gorst was with Colin, great. So 98, it was a good year. We won Aaron got his first double. He'd been in most superbikes. He got his first double at Mazzano. And Mazzano was always his worst track. He hated the bike. I'm not sure of combination there. We did the double at Mazzano. It was great.
Was that still in the configuration now, or was it?
It was the other way.
It was the opposite way.
Yeah, it was opposite way. Yeah. Because I think that year Scott Russell had a massive crash at the back. Yeah, it was the opposite way. Yeah. Scott Russell was on the Yamaha, and anyway, we had a great year. We won, I think, not a massive amount of races, but won a few. And it gets down to the last round of the championship was at Sugo. So there was Aaron Slight, Troy Corser on the Aprilia, and Foggy on the Ducati, and there was a handful of points between us all. And it was like, okay, the week before, we went to Japan and built an upgraded engine for this race. That's it. That's right. And then went to Suzuka, tested it. Aaron said, "Yeah, this is great. Let's go with it." That was right. Yeah. So we actually a new spec engine. We thought, wow, we're coincident. Anyway, morning warm up, turn 1. Corsi goes down. His elbow sort went to ruptured his spleen. He was out. It was like, wow, flipping out. This could be our year. You never want to. Absolutely no, but you don't say it.
Don't. Well, but, if it happened,
it was just Fogarty, and we thought, yeah, he's a tough cookie. It's going to be difficult this. And then first race we go out, Foggy beat us, and it was down to the last round. And I always remember on the grid. So there's Neil Hodgson on a Kawasaki. He was next to. I think we qualified 7th. So it wasn't the best, and Foggy was 4th. Neil Hodgson was next to us, and stupidly, Aaron Slight went to Neil Hodgson. He said, "Look, I'm fighting for the World Championship here. Don't impede me. Don't get in the way. Don't mess it up." And I'm thinking, wow, he's on a Kawasaki. He's probably one of Foggy's good mates, you know. And I thought, wow, this is not good. Anyway, in the race, basically Aaron had a rubbish race. Foggy finished 4th. We finished 7th. He was dicing with Hodgson. Called down lap. Him and Aaron had fisticuffs with him.
Did, I remember.
And he was like, oh no. And he said, "I told you." He said, "What do you think? I'm fighting for my job here. I thought you were joking, Aaron." He said, "No, I wasn't joking." And we lost the championship by 4 points. 4 points, and it is what it is. And you look back and then you think, Monza, last lap, turn 1, easy 20 points, engine blew up.
This is what we were talking about before we started rolling, wasn't it? Yeah. Of how consistency wins championships.
It was rare for because I built the engine, you feel guilty.
Yeah.
And you think, oh no, but you think, it's nothing I've done wrong. It's been running all weekend. It's and he basically just backshift too much and just had a big spike on the revs and on the and it just boof and flames coming out the side, and it was it was a disaster. But that would have been easy. But then you say anything, innit? Like, look back in BSB if this had happened or that had happened or.
Absolutely.
If
is the biggest word in motorcycle races. If that hadn't happened, this would have done, and ifs and buts and pots and
so in the end, and it was, and I think, to be fair, Colin had a good year. He got a couple of wins, and he won both races at Monza. So again, we went out at a big party in Milan. That was good with Colin. He got the rounds in, and that was good. And then it was good for Adrian. I think deep down, Adrian was a little bit relieved that, I know it's a horrible thing to say because Aaron didn't win it, because for him, all those years, Aaron, and then to win it without him, it would have been tough for Adrian, I think.
Of course.
That would have been really tough.
You get attached, don't you?
Yeah.
You go through so much together.
And I don't care what anybody says in racing. You're a team, you're a team.
Exactly.
But you want your rider to, and nobody, it's one of them unsaid things, isn't it? You know what I mean? You want your rider to beat the other rider more than anything. And you get on the mechanics, you shake the hand, but it's seething underneath, you're bubbling underneath.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Because that's what you go racing for. That's what we said earlier on. You go racing to win. You build your engines, you mechanic those bikes to win.
Yeah.
And you want your rider, you give your rider the best tools for the job.
Yeah.
And if he has, it's down to him then.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, he's on the top step of the podium. That's teamwork right there.
Yeah. So that was it. And that was season over. And then it was pretty easy because Aaron was signed up again. So we sort of knew we'd continue to 99. And then I think our team stayed the same. Went to 99. And it was a so-so year, really. Nothing special. Both rides, I think Honda won, Ducati won again. So 99, not a standout year really for me. I did nothing really 99 now.
Well, it was a fairly strong start, let's be fair. So the bar was set, wasn't it?
Yeah, the bubble burst a little bit, yeah. So anyway, 99, still loving it. And then 2000, and then 2000, and basically it was end of the RC45, and Honda built a V-twin just to try and beat Ducati with a V-twin at their own game. So we did some testing end of 99 with a V-twin. It had some good potential. And then we started the season with Aaron, Colin. I think Colin won the first race. Yeah, I think he did that year, 2000. And that's the year when Noriyuki Haga had the drugs infringement.
The Nandrolone issue.
Yeah, we went to.
He's on the R7, wasn't he?
Yeah, we went to Kyalami, and he came and he was thin and he was like, wow, and it was a bit of a threat. And then that ended up, Colin was champion in the hospitality at Brands Hatch, I think, because the case took.
That's right. That's how long it took to get.
And he was world champion. The name, obviously, he got the points deducted. Haga, and that was that. 2000. And then we started testing that year in Eastern Creek, No, we went to Phillip Island, did a test, and Aaron was off the boil. He was not right. And we went surfing, and he was just distant. He was like, oh, something not right here. So then we moved up to Eastern Crete in Sydney, and we tested, Repsol Honda were testing the 500s in Mick Doohan. I thought, this is great, Mick Doohan turn one, Mick Doohan's flying past. It's like, this is great, And,
Sorry to interrupt. That's what I love.
Yeah.
And I said this to Matt as well, and to everybody who works in the paddock, whether it's riders, mechanics, having the joy of being there as well.
Yeah.
And going, fucking, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Sorry, Aaron.
And the 500s and like Repsol Honda, it's great watching that. And then, actually, was that 2000? Yeah, no, it wasn't 2000. He was there, Mick Doohan, because he was injured. It was not Mick Doohan. It was Repsol Honda, but I can't remember. It might have been Creville. He got injured in '99. That was the previous time we tested Eastern Crete with the RC45 we're doing, because then he had the injury in Jerez in '99.
So it would have been Alex,
yeah, and it was Alex Creville, and maybe I can't remember who was in the Gibbernow or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah,
Could have been.
Anyway, so we're watching these 500s go around, and then Aaron went out. We went out with it, and Colin goes down the straight, absolutely flat out, and Aaron is just like going super, super slow, really slow. It's like, what's up? And then he just pulled in. I said, what's up? He said, I don't feel good. I need to go sit down. I'm not right here. So anyway, test over for us. We packed up. Neil said, you can go home. So okay, our side of the team flew home, and then Aaron went to Sydney, which was just it's just up the road, isn't it, from Eastern Crete. He went to see a doctor, and they did a scan. He had a brain aneurysm in the thing, and we need to operate straight away. It's serious. Don't fly. This is serious stuff. And they did that, and he stayed there, operation, and that was it. He was out. He was out for, well, we didn't know.
No.
And we're going back to Laos, like flipping.
We didn't know at that point he was going to race again.
Yeah, that's it. And it was, wow, this is serious. And he was lucky that they sort of caught it. He's riding this bloody motorbike around with a bleed in the brain. It was terrible. So anyway, we get back to Laos and said, right, we need to we regrouped, and so we need to put someone on it. So we did a test in Italy. Honda Italy put Perugini on it. He was terrible. He thought he was really fast, but he was these Ducatis, but it was 748 Ducatis. Anyway, then Simon Crayfar popped up, so we did a few rounds. But to be fair, even now I speak to Simon in the pit lane, and he wasn't. He didn't. He said the Michelin front, it wasn't for him, and he didn't enjoy it. He said, I did 3 rounds and I was glad to get off it. So it wasn't the bike or the team. It was just a combination, that Michelin front and me. And we did 3 rounds with him, and he just said, I've had enough of this. I don't want to do this. And then we had a Japanese rider in Sugo. The only rider I ever worked with, actually, who crashed twice in morning warm-up. He'd crashed.
That's impressive.
He crashed, coming up the chicane, as you come up the hill at Sugo. He crashed on that. Then he got on the spare bike, went out and crashed into somebody at the back of him at the end of when the checkered flag, he hit somebody. So like, I've had 2 damaged bikes for a race like this. So anyway, bless him. Actually, I think he was called Commander, Gaku used to call him. He passed away in a road traffic accident, I think, a few years later, but super nice guy, super apologetic. It wasn't super fast, but...
No, but it just somebody HRC put on the bike.
Of course, and it was Sugo, yeah. It's their flagship race. Yeah.
You can't put Tomato on every bike.
No. So anyway, we had this guy and crashed it, and we fixed it. Yeah, I was working with James Wood, who's another guy from Laos. He worked,
another one.
Yeah.
That's not a name I know.
He's got his own suspension company now. Yeah, Woody. He worked in Supersport. And then he's set his own suspension company up now. Anyway, so we're working with him and did that. And then Aaron, we did a little test at Donington Park with Aaron. Yeah, I feel good. And then we went back with Aaron. And then, to be fair, he wasn't really on it. I mean, what you'd expect. He had
exactly. Yeah. It's never going to be.
And also, he's missed all the pre-season development of the bike. It was a brand new bike. A lot had happened since we started the year. He'd come on leaps and bounds, and he missed all that. So he struggled on for the season. Then he sort of HRC decided to put Taddy's sort of Grand Prix career was coming to an end.
Yeah.
But I think they wanted to pension him off. So they said, okay, he's going to go to Castrol Honda for 2001.
Here's a World Superbike ride.
Yeah, So poor Aaron, he got sort of left in the lurch, and then I think he did a bit of touring car racing. I think
he did a little bit.
Some of that. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Just take me back a little bit to 2000. I sat down with a gentleman yesterday who wasn't particularly impressed with you.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. The show that we're talking about went out, as is the Off Track Time Machine. We're sat here now, early December. The show's going out mid-January. This shows that we're talking about went out between Christmas and New Year. Worked that one out. He finished second in the senior to a bike that you built.
Yes.
So I was with Michael Rutter yesterday. He's like, he built that bike far too well.
Yeah.
Because you built a bike for Joey for his last big bike.
Yeah, that's it's one of my favourite things, that I have to say, in my career. It stands out. I was quite proud of that. And
So tell us the story.
yeah, well, as you know, like 2000, the SP1 came out.
Yeah.
Our bike, factory bike, fantastic bike. It's fast. We won World Superbike races. We're taking it to Ducati. Well, Colin was at the time. Anyway, the kit bike was not as good, and it came late. First BSB round was at Brands Hatch, and Paul Bird's team got 2, I think, or 1 maybe for James Toseland.
With JT, yeah, that's right.
And then, and there was 2 bikes for Lester Harris's team with, I think it was Sean Emmett and Shaky Byrne.
Yeah.
So they had one, and literally got it a week before the Brands Hatch, and it wasn't great. You know, it needed developing, and it was way off the pace. So anyway, they plugged along with it. Toseland was on it was Vimto Honda.
It was, that's right.
That's right, with Paul's team. Anyway, so they went to Northwest, and it was a bit of a disaster. It was a disaster. It wasn't fast. It was weaving, and so big instrumental way was Bob McMillan, big boss of Honda UK at the time. I think he was a boss, or it was something to do with Honda UK, and there was Dave Hancock. And the thing was, Bob McMillan, he had really good, strong links in Japan. So he rang them up. He said, "Look, Joey, he's 48. It could be his last TT. He's on this bike. It's uncompetitive. We're going to 2000 Millennium. We need to do something." And they were like, "Okay." So anyway, we're in Louth, and it was obviously just before, maybe a week or 2 weeks. It was just after Northwest. It's close, wasn't it?
In between, yeah.
So anyway, we were working away, and Neil called us in the office. It's like 3 of us, and we're like, "Oh God, what have we done now? You know, have we turned the thermostat up or something, or we left the fuel like in the Renault Espace or something?" You know, we're like, "Oh God!" And we used to have this thing. It was a boardroom. It was a Mike Elwood suite, because Neil Tooks was a huge fan of Mike
Elwood,
massive. So we had this beautiful sort of boardroom, the Mike Elwood suite. Always get the bump felt, you know what I mean? So anyway, he calls into this office. He says, right, boys, we've got a mission here." I said, "Bob McMillan's pulled a few strings. We're going to build a bike for Joey for the TT. I'm going to take Aaron Slight's spare engine." I'm like, wow, okay. So how are we going to do this? Okay, right. So we've got Hockenheim next, World Superbikes. Rob, who worked with Colin, he's going to build my engines for Aaron, or refresh them. And because in them days, we only had 3 engines. We had 1 each bike and 1 spare.
That's all?
Yeah, all you had. Seriously.
Wow.
Because you'd think you'd have a lot. We had 1 spare engine, because it was so reliable.
Okay.
And if you could repair it, or rebuild it. So we only had 1 spare engine. So anyway, we said, right. So I want Pup to go, and Simon Greer, who was Irish mechanic. So he's perfect for me now. He previously he was working with Yanagara at Kawasaki, but we needed a mechanic. He was a good guy, so he joined us for that 2000. Anyway, so Neil calls in, says, right, we need to take one of Aaron's engines. We're going to go to the Isle of Man, and we're going to use James Toseland's chassis, and then there's going to be a big box of stuff coming from HRC, and you're going to have to put it all together and make this bike. So, okay. So we load, and then I said, okay, right, Rob. So I had a meeting with Rob. What about do the engines? And then the only engine what we had, I said, we could take this engine, but it needs rebuilding. Like, we need to do the practice, and we need to do the top end. The bottom end was fine. I needed to do valves, springs, retainers, give it a little fresh up. So I said, right, I'll take all the parts of engine building stand, we'll do practice, and I'll rebuild it for the race, the top end, make it really super fresh. Yeah. So anyway, we loaded this Sprinter up, we took the engine, we took a toolbox, goes to the Isle of Man, and then Honda used to be based in the old post office van building or something. It was like an old building where they used to have the post office vans, and so we rocked up here. There's this huge wooden box, pristine. Like HRC used to send these parts in these wooden boxes. Airway bill on the side. There's Paul Bird there, John McGuinness. They're all like looking at this box, thinking, "Oh, what's in it?" And McGuinness is like, "I hope there's something for me," because he was always on the stock SP1. So anyway, we get there, and then they give us this Blandy, Stuart Blandy, who was the coordinator there. So he said, "Right, here's the chassis." So they took the engine out of it. And there was just a rolling chassis. No, it was just a chassis on the bench. So we opened this, crowbarred this box open, and it was Suzuki hour swing arm, quick change wheels.
Proper.
There was exhaust, modification for the subframe, because obviously it's an amalgamation of the kit and a factory bike.
Yeah.
So they didn't send a complete bike. So we had to work out what was like we used from Vinto Honda and what we used from the HRC. So, but we kept the standard forks. There wasn't factory forks. It was the forks what Tozen was using, his chassis. And then we had a factory shock because it had to go with the swing arm and the link, and then the standard swing arm. So we started to build this bike, and then he sent Ollie, who's our shower technician, who incidentally works for Pedro Acosta this year at WP. So he came over. So we had this factory shower suspension guy, and then we had 2 days to build this bike. So me and Simon, and then obviously the PBM boys coming around, anything for us? Nah, sorry, mate, and there's nothing for you. And then we built this, so we put the factory engine in, factory exhaust, factory swing arm, if you like, James Tozen's frame, forks, triple clamps, and things like that, and built this bike. The frame, I always remember we got the frame, and the ride-out adjuster went through the frame. And it was all bowed, obviously they've over-timed it, and I thought, we can't have that. So Neil Tux had come, and we thought, Neil Tux is his Mr. TT, he loves it. He absolutely loves it. So we said, Neil, he said, Neil, can you get some plates made? Get an old this big, some plates, and we'll put 2 plates either side of the thing. The shock will go through, just to give it some, because, it's going to take a bit of a batter in. Yeah, I'll do that, fellas, no worry. And about 8 hours later, because I know when Neil, he'd go off on the Isle of Man and he'd go and see somebody and he'd die. 8 hours later, we're waiting for this to put the shock. Hey, fellas, here it is, these perfect plates, put it in, all strengthened, fantastic, top job. So we did all that, and then we went out in practice, and it was fast, but it was unstable. Why? It was unstable. Joey said, it was wobbling around, weaving, and, we do all the tricks. We lengthened the swing arm, we changed the trail, all the things trying to get stability. It was getting better. We tried different profile tyres, tried intermediate front, all these things to...
Literally.
That was Joey's idea. He said, because the profile of the intermediate was a little bit different.
Yeah.
Anyway, we sort of got it off decent, to be fair, and because it was, I was like elected like the chief mechanic, then there was Simon and Ollie, and Neil was helping as well. And we had like proper meetings with Joey. It was like great, I can't understand what he was saying, but and it was great. It was Joey Dunlop, and I was like,
this is peak.
And I'm thinking, we built this unbelievable bike, and I'm thinking it's going to be tough because they had David Jeffries, Michael Rutter,
absolutely,
on the V&M Yamahas, the R1. They were cleaning up on the roads.
Who were literally out there to beat Honda after what had happened in '99 with V&M and Honda then.
So it was a tough practice. Pressure was on because we thought, this is they spent a lot of money here, Honda, and we've got this factory engine, factory bike, factory mechanics, factory everything. Anyway, we go out and practice, and he was building up speed, and then we I think the F1 was, it used to be on a Friday, the F1, was it? No, Saturday. That was it, Saturday, because it was a TTF Formula 1. So it was the Friday, and we had to go Thursday to Hockenheim. So we had to leave, me and Simon, because we had the World Superbike meeting. So that was the priority, of course. I didn't at the time, it wasn't really, but it was winning the TT. But so anyway, Wednesday, I said, right, I've got to leave tomorrow. We need to refresh the engine. So we took the engine out. I had all my engine building kit, stand, took the heads off, took all the valves, recut all the seats, put all it on mint. And I said, right, built it all out. I said to Phil Borley, set the clutch up, because our clutch was different to theirs, a slipper clutch, super trick slipper clutch. Showing him how to set it up, give him some bedding plates. This is all you need to do these measurements. Yeah, he's a competent guy, he knew what he was doing.
He knows what he's on about.
That's all you need to worry about. Put the engine in. So just run it up to Derby and ring me up, let me know it's all right. Because obviously I rebuilt the engine, I'm leaving if it was not.
If it's not, it's
so
not.
Anyway, I think Thursday morning we flew from Douglas, Heathrow to, where's Hockenheim? Can't remember airport it is, Frankfurt, whatever, I know.
Yes.
Rang up, yeah, bike's fine, we're ready to go. Okay. I think we did one more practice on it. I can't remember. Anyway, so then we did Saturday. We used to have Superpole then in World Superbike. Aaron was qualified terribly. He was, we're all down in the dumps. Neil said, come to the truck. Joey Dunlop's won. He wants to speak to you. And so we go to the truck, like this, and he'd gone and he won it. He'd gone and won the race. And they were like, we were like overjoyed. And there's Aaron there. He's like 7th or 8th, and he's like, we like to tone it down a bit because it was a little bit awkward because we were like over the moon, and the priority was him, not this TT thing. And it was like, okay, let's just calm down.
With his spare engine.
We've just won the TT, Joey. Yeah, with his engine. So anyway, we spoke to Joey, blah, blah. And what happened was Jeffries was leading, and then I think his clutch basket exploded or something like that. Yeah, and then Joey, to be fair, Joey was leading at the beginning of the race. I looked at it, and I looked back actually, did a bit of research, and he was leading by 4 seconds. But the thing was with Joey, he had really good pit stops. He like gained 6 seconds on every pit stop. And then obviously Jeffries would inch back. And then the bike broke, and then it was it, game over. And then he went and won it. And then we did Ocker 9, and then it was obviously the senior, but we got back, and then I was too busy at the workshop. Neil says, you can't go back, you're too busy. So Simon Greer went and did the senior. I didn't really finish third. I can't remember.
It was on the podium.
Yeah, it was. But then they changed colours to Vimto colours. Yeah. It was Honda colours in the F1, and then he went to Vimto. Yeah, I finished third. And I think actually James Jeffries and Rutter were first and second. Right. Yeah, and that was it. And then after that,
because that's what gave Jack his biggest feeling after what had happened with Honda UK the year before with the RC45s. 2 R1s out the back of a van.
Yeah.
I mean, very quick R1s out the back of a van, and 2 really fast riders.
So a lot of people think after that, what happened to the bike? You know, people say, oh, it's been seen here and there. And that basically, Simon stayed. He took the engine out, put it back in the van. He packed all the HRC parts, you know, Suzuka swing arm wheels. They were all like a pentagon shape. So you should throw the wheel at it from here to over there and it'd go in. It was so factory. We split it all up. We give the chassis back to Paul's team. Engine come back to Louth. I did a complete rebuild because it was, you know, it had a lot of hammer. Yeah. Complete rebuild, and it became our spare engine again. Or no, actually went in the bike and we rotate them round, and then the stuff went back to HRC, and then that bike never existed anymore. The chassis did with Toseland. Yeah. I think then Toseland broke his leg, didn't he, that year? I think late in Cable. Yeah, femur. Yeah, I went to see him in hospital and we was on about the bike. You know, he'd won the TT, and well, his chassis had won the TT, and then he was out of action, and so that was fun. It was a great story. I mean, we used to go to pub with Joey, and it was, you know, you never had to buy your drink. It was really special, really special.
Those are the times that really mean something, because he was probably on the down slope of his career. He was, like I say, 48.
48, yeah.
He wasn't going to go on forever.
Same that.
But then what happened after?
Yeah, but that week he won the 250 and the 125. He won 3 TTs.
He did. Won 3 in a week.
Yeah.
And that was his last big bike win. Yeah. Then what happened in Estonia afterwards?
Well, I remember.
Adds extra weight to it.
I remember it. I was at home. It was a Sunday morning. Yeah. And Simon rang me up in tears. He said, "You're never going to believe it. Joey's been killed at Tallinn, I think, in Estonia." Are you joking? And he was on a 125. 125. And it was like, wow.
Some race that most people have never heard of.
Like 2 months after the TT, or even not even that.
No, it was all beginning of August.
Yeah. And he's like, "You're joking." And that was really bad. That was really sad. So yeah, it's tragic. Terrible.
Tell me the story of his forecoil.
This is genius one. So
this is the beauty of you letting me know stories beforehand.
So yeah,
I can remember.
I'd almost forgot about that story, because the thing with
Joey Dunlop, forecoil story.
So with Joey he's very, what's I going to say? He did all his 250, 125. He worked it himself. So when I first walked in to that garage coming into TT, he had his 250 on the floor. Not on a stand or anything, on the floor.
Laid down.
Yeah, doing the clutch, like laid down with his fag on, you know, dropping ash into it. All right, this is going to be your crew for the TT. And all that. So anyway.
How's it go?
And then he, obviously TT then practiced. He had 3 or 4 bikes to practice. So he said, well, I need to go on the 250. I need to lap on it, a couple of laps, and then I'll come and pick the superbike up. Okay, but we were looking after the 125. He's had his own crew. Yeah. But we had like a tent, you know, then back in then, like I say, then you sort of drove a van up to the pits. You had a little tent, and then when you finished, so the paddock was empty, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we had a little tent, and he went out on the 250. Anyway, got the report. He stopped at the Craig or something, and they thought, oh God, he's going to miss getting back for the superbike. We desperately need to go. The thing's handling like a pig. Yeah, it was terrible. We need to do a lap on it. We need to try what we've done. And anyway. So he finally come in, and went out on the superbike. Great. So anyway, didn't think anything of it. He gets back to the workshop, and he goes to Ollie, the show guy. He said, "You couldn't rebuild my 250 forks, could you?" He said, "Give him I need some new fork oil, and give a service." He said, "Why?" Anyway, so he said, "I got to the Craig, I ran out of fuel on the 250." He said, "I siphoned some out of this." Some punter, So I was siphoned some petrol out of his tank, and obviously I needed some oil. So I got some tools, and on the front of the fork is a little compression stack from on the 254.
Yeah.
The 2 Allen keys. He wound the Allen key off, drained the fork oil out, put it into the petrol tank, shook the tank, and used basically the fork oil as a 2-stroke oil, and then just rode it back to the pit, not flat out, of course.
No, of course
just,
not,
just
but
to get him back, just to make sure so he didn't damage his engine. Anyway, he rode back to the pits with some borrowed fuel and fork oil from the fork into the tank, rode it back, and we were like, anyway, so we're like, I couldn't believe it. How genius.
Absolutely.
It's quick thinking to do it, to get back. Anyway, in the end, he got back, did a lap. You could say it contributed to his win. I don't know.
No question. Well, you've only got that loss otherwise.
Yeah, it's like a TT to get back from anyway. Yeah. It's impossible. So anyway, we're like flipping out. Anyway, so Ollie rebuilt the forks. He had a factory technician. I think they were the most cleanest everything they'd ever been. They were disgusting anyway. So, and then Joey opened the engine. It was beautiful. Not a mark in it. Perfect.
So you can imagine Michael doing something like that, having the mechanical understanding.
Yeah.
Think, right, I need to get that back. But to do that at the side of the road, drop it. And
and like asking people, like, have you got an Allen key? Or, how are you doing? So how God knows how you got the pipe. And just to come back and do that, I was like, that is genius. That is fantastic. That was a great, I always remember that. That was sticks in my mind, that. And then, like saying, then that was it. And then back to reality, back to World Superbikes, finished the year off 2000. And like I say, then we went to 2001 with Taddy Okada. And then actually 2000, Norris Farrow left, and then Chris Pike took over as crew chief. And then that's when I started working with Chris. And later on, I ended up working him again in Honda at Mark VDS. So we worked.
Of course, he was at Mark VDS, wasn't he, for a while?
So, so we did 2001 with Taddy, and you could tell it was his retirement year. And the last race, he never got a podium. In the last race in Imola, he almost got on the podium. He thought, well, I'm going to have a go here, and he never did. But that was 2001. But so went 2001, and then Colin obviously did the 8 Tower. So 2001, he come back from the 8 Tower, and he said, "Look, guys, it's not good news. Honda cut him back. We need to get to one ride." And he told us before. Neil told us because and he said we only have one rider in 2002. And I thought, oh God, So then I started looking around, and because obviously Colin was staying.
Put the CV together.
Yeah, Colin was staying.
Other side of the garage.
Yeah, and I'm on Taddy's side. Thought I'm getting the axe here. But I thought, I don't know. Anyway, so I did some investigation and all this, and and then Neil said, no, we want you to work with Colin. And it was bad for the guy who worked with Colin, but I thought it was all right for me. So I ended up, because I had a truck driving license as well, which is a big thing. So they need somebody to drive the truck. And
that was a very
and I think with Neil, he was not, I wouldn't say not proud of me, but he took me on when I was like, and he sort of under his wing a little bit, and so he thought, I don't want to cast in the loyalty. Exactly. I think there was a bit of loyalty there. Exactly. And I was all right with him, and being a good boy, well, in front of Neil anyway. So
not rolled any cars.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Rob got the chop, and I moved over with Adrian Gorst. Well, I never worked. Adrian Gorst had always been on the other side of the garage. Yeah. And I never worked with Adrian Gorst. And when I first started there, he sort of was a bit off with me and Craig because he'd come from New Zealand. He'd worked through the privateer ranks, and he'd built his way up. Well, we came straight into the factory.
And
he had a little bit of resentment like that. He always used to be like, but you guys never crewed for the privateer tanks, and it was a bit of an ongoing thing. And anyway, but we proved ourselves.
And have the opportunity, you take it.
So we proved ourselves we could do the job, but we didn't need to come through the privateer.
Exactly.
Anyway, so I ended up working with Colin, and then Craig Burton was he was on the spanners, and there was me, Adrian, Colin, and Chris Pike did the data. And then, as you know, 2002, got the SP2 that year with Colin. Started off, and it was a big fight with Bayliss. He was on the Ducati. Ducati had a little bit of horsepower advantage. It was a faster bike. They had a great start to the year. We were pretty sort of, I think, the first part of the year, I can't remember, we won a couple of races, I'm not sure. Then we get to Laguna Seca, and Laguna Seca, Colin's home round, first race, Colin was third. I think Bayliss won it and Zaus was second, I can't remember. And he came in, he said, I'm either win this next race or I'm going to bin it. So I'm sick of this. And, and so he went out, he won it. And then from that race to the end of the year, he won every race of the 9 races in a row. But anyway, so he won the race, he got a little bonus, and
I think we got a few $100s, and I was telling Ben and June the other night about it because so I got these $900, went back to Laos, bought a lawnmower, and I was going through a bit of my Lovejoy sort of era. I went to this art gallery and bought 2 pictures, which June has now, and she keeps trying to give them back to me, but they're worthless. So I got these pictures. Thought I was going to make a load of money on them. They're worth less. So yeah,
They've never been worth less than they are now.
And they're really crap pictures. Anyway, so he gave me a bit of money. That was good with Colin. He was really generous. Anyway, so Laguna. So anyway, then we went to Brands Hatch after that. And oh, sorry, that race we had the special stars and stripes. That's iconic.
Yeah.
We had this hat here. All of his mechanics had these hats, and we went to Brands Hatch, and it was so popular that we kept for the Brands Hatch meeting, or did we? I can't remember. Anyway, we kept the hats or something.
Stetsons.
Yeah, Stetsons. And no, Adrian Gorse kept the Stetson, and then he wore it every round because we won with it. He kept it on every race till the end of the year, and you know what happened. But so anyway, we got home, had the special stars and stripes, went to Brands Hatch. I can't remember if we ran it in one session. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we won both races. Brands Hatch home, fantastic. And then it was a summer break, and then HRC. I didn't have a summer break, I was busy. So HRC was sending an upgrade to the engine. So they sent, again, we only had 3 engines, 1 each bike and spare. So they sent enough parts just for 2 engines. So it was a big upgrade. It was exhaust cams and cam gears and oil pumps. It was a big old job, like. And so I built these 2 engines, pikey dynoed them, 6 horsepower. I mean, 6 horsepower is a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
So we thought, this is all right. And, we built these 2 super-duper engines. And then the third we just left as standard as a backup. Went to Oschersleben, little German track, and 4 flap. Colin, and the exhaust, before when we started, we had the exhaust on one side, and then we had a twin exhaust.
Yeah, then sent a wheelbarrow, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Went to Oschersleben, 4 laps, Colin under that record, within 4 laps, and the Ducati were like, whoa, Anyway, went out, smoked both races, won it. But Neil always said, because in Laguna, Bayliss was 54 points in the lead. And he said, Bayliss is not stupid. He's just playing the game. He just needs to finish second, win a few.
He knows how to.
Yeah. So it's going to be difficult, this, boys. It's going to be difficult. Okay, yeah, but we never give up. We're going to try. He said, but Neil was a bit pessimistic. Yeah, Bayliss, he's anyway. Oschersleben did it. Then we went to Assen. And Assen, again, Colin had a massive lead. Bayliss second, and like Neil said, look, he's second. We're going to go to Imola, and Bayliss just needs to finish second. Distrubben, the little thing.
Yeah.
Looking at thing. That's Bayliss. He's crashed. And everybody's like, I can't believe it. He's crashed 20 points. Colin win the race, and then it was 1 point.
Yeah.
1 point. And it was like, flipping out. So we get packed up. I thought, this is game on here. So from 54 points at Laguna, 4 races. It would be 4 races or 8 races later. So anyway, we get some of the ferry back. We fly in them days with Neil. We always have to drive everywhere. Whole Rotterdam, that way. Fantastic. It was a good crack, like.
Party boat.
Yeah, fantastic. Get back and all these fans on it and foggy fans. And we had some good times on that boat, to be fair. That's probably another podcast. Anyway, so we get to the boat. Right, so Neil said, right, what we're going to do, let's go and test. So we're making plans, right, ringing up Imola. We need to test there. You better know. So then they went to Imola, Craig Burton, Adrian Gorst, and I think Pikey. I stayed behind because we had these 2 super engines, but they needed a refresh.
Okay.
Because we were less mileage. So I said, but you stay in the workshop. We'll just take 1 bike and 1 engine. But unfortunately, it was the old spec engine. So it don't matter. It was just to get a gearbox plan, all that sort of stuff. Because in them days, you could change the ratios, but you had to take the engine out and split the cases. It was a big old job if you had to do 2. You'd be super. If Adrian goes to gearbox, it's like, you'd be there till midnight. And then, obviously, your spare engine, you need to make sure that was done. So then
everything's got to be ready.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, for 3K an hour or something in second. Yeah. Anyway, so then boys went to Imola. I stayed, rebuilt these 2 engines, come back, dynoed them, went to Imola. Anyway, we practiced, and I think Colin was fast, but Bayliss wasn't far behind. And then the Friday night, actually, the Ducati, David Dotzi came down. And he said, look, guys, I've heard a few rumours that you could be sabotaged. This is a true story. He said, I'm telling you now, put the bikes in the truck and lock it up. He said, don't leave them in the garage. So it's rumours, but we've heard something going around, not from us, obviously, but from Italian fans.
Italian fans, of course.
Lock them in the truck. So we put him in the truck. Fair play for Tardozzi for telling us. And then we locked him up anyway. We came out anyway. And then in them days, we didn't race on Saturday. We had Super Pole. And then we were, I think, one pole. First race, we started and Colin was leading. And then there was a red flag. The red flag. But we had like an 8/10 lead over Bayliss. In them days, aggregate time.
Aggregate time.
So you think this is the last thing you need, a red flag. You're fighting for the championship. You know, you're thinking, is the clutch going to be all right? And
yeah, for another start.
Which normally it would have been. But anyway, we started and Colin, we started and the thing's juddering. And flipping ages. Pop, is the clutch all right? I said, well, looks all right, you know, and what can I do? So anyway, he followed Bayliss round and Bayliss won it, but we were just behind him. So we won it because of the aggregate times, because 8/10s, you know.
Yeah.
So won that. So going into the last race, we had to finish second. We only had to finish second. But for some reason, Colin thought, I'm not finishing second. And that was that titanic battle.
Incredible.
Like, what are you doing? It was 6 points. You just need to finish second. And he was fighting and it went down to last lap. And then there was Colin, Bayliss had a big slide at I can't remember the corner at the top of the hill. And that was a gap. But Colin didn't know and he was still pushing. I mean, it was just, you know. Anyway, and then he crossed the line, won by a couple of seconds in the end. But it was like, that was...
But it goes down in history as one of the greatest World Superbike ends to a World Superbike season ever.
Catching the champagne, Colin's on the podium and catching the thing. That was more nervous than the race. God, I don't want to drop this live on telly, this champagne bottle, smash it, which I've seen it happen before, you know, like people.
Many a time.
Yeah, and I caught it, thank God for that. And then it was like, right, world champion. But again, that year, Colin got back from the 8 hours. He said, guys, we're finishing the year. HRC are pulling out Superbikes. So it was tinged with a bit of, with champions, what we're going to do now? What are we going to do now? Because there's nothing on the table. There's no World Superbikes anymore. And like the dream was over. And it was like, okay. And I think at the time, HRC didn't realise that, they didn't think we could win the championship because Bayliss, Ducati were dominant. We were far behind.
50 odd points ahead, you're kind of thinking, well, this isn't going to go so
So they sort of dismissed it a little bit. So they come and said, look, end of the season, they were like, right, we need to put something together for Colin, because he wanted to keep him. Because at the time, Colin had signed for Ducati.
Really?
Yeah, he'd signed for Ducati World Superbikes with the factory team.
Wow.
In just after he got back from the 8 hour, he said, I ain't got a job. So he signed for Ducati.
Taking.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, because Bayliss,
that's not widely known, is it?
No, because Bayliss went to MotoGP in 2003. So he was taking Bayliss's spot. So anyway, so Colin signed for Ducati, or letter intent, or what you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then, so we're in Louth, right? And then rumours started. Honda said, right, we can supply you 2 V5s, Hondas, to run a MotoGP team, but it's going to be with Bridgestone tyres.
Okay.
And Bridgestone tyres wasn't the... And Colin, thing with Colin was, he was Michelin all the way through his career, but he used to go to Ledoux and the Clermont-Ferrand a lot, testing for
doing the tyre testing.
No, they'd put a standard tyre in, test 5, go back to standard, which is this tyre, you know, and he was Michelin through and through. He wanted Michelin tyres. He said, I only want to ride the V5, it's Michelin. And Honda said, no, we can't, because Bridgestone would have put money in, because it was a tyre war then. It was
of course.
So we couldn't get the budget. And then Castrol was keen, a Castrol Honda V5, and we were like, coming to work, super excited. How are we getting on? Is if facts come from no internet, you know, like facts come from nothing yet. And we're like, and it was close. And we're like, God, imagine that Castrol Honda MotoGP bike, you know, with Bridgestone. And Colin refused it, and it was like, oh God, you know. And then Aprilia came with the Cube and said, Colin, we've got a ride on a Cube. It's MotoGP, and they weren't Dunlop at the time, I think, or something. And then they said, we'll get Michelin tyres for you, and that was a deal done for it.
Just on the tyres itself?
And then I was like, okay, so he's going there. What are we going to do? And then Neil came, he said, right, we've got options here. I had options. Neil said, because GSC, Colin Wright rang me up. He said, look, we need a #1 mechanic. And that's how my brother got the job, because I said, I'm working on some other thing. I'm not going to say yes. I went to his house in Lincoln, or just before Lincoln, he used to live. Went to his house, had a meeting with him, and he said, you know, they have the job anyway. Yeah. I'm like, well, I want to come see what you want to say, Colin. Respect, you know. And he's like, yeah, you know. Anyway. So anyway, there was GSC, and then there was a deal to go to be based in Belgium to build like the satellite MotoGP engines for like Gibber and Melandri, but it was just workshop based in Aalst, which was HRC Europe. So anyway, we went there. That was an option. And then Colin rang up. He said, do you want to come to Aprilia? And I'm thinking, oh God. So I've got this HRC thing, Aprilia. Neil said GSC, and then Neil said, we're going to run BSB next year with Colin's bikes, but we need you because everybody was leaving. Adrian Gorse was going to Aprilia with Colin.
Yep.
Craig Burton went with him to Aprilia, and then it said, Neil, we need somebody who knows the bikes and can be trusted because HRC are giving these factory bikes to BSB. We need somebody who knows how to build engines and look after them. So I was like, it's such a dilemma. I almost went to Belgium, but I didn't. And then and in the end, Neil gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I said, okay, I'll do BSB that year with Steve Plate, and then it was Mark Eccles as well.
That's right. Dangerous gas.
Yeah. So then Adrian left, then Son Buckmaster came in, he was a team manager, and it was a busy year. Really, you know, Northwest, BSB. Then we went to the TT again with Ian Locker. I did the TT.
Of course.
Again,
yeah.
We got a big box of stuff from HRC with Suzuki Hour swing arms. We got 2/3 that year with Ian Locker on the Collins World Superbike. Yeah, did the TT, but I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't enjoying it. I had like itchy feet again, and I missed the travel. I missed the World Championship.
That's the important thing, isn't it? Because it's great coming back to BSB, and BSB is great in its own right.
Yeah.
But when you're on a trajectory that's taking you a different way, it's just not quite the same.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it, but I learned so much. I learned a lot of things, extra things, and things I didn't do before. And it was a good year, but I didn't really. So anyway, then I was getting to the end of the year, and we finished BSB, and I thought, what I'm going to do? And obviously, I'd emailed HRC Japan, sending anything in Grand Prix, because I thought I've blown it because I never took the chance the year before. They think if you've turned down HRC once, you're not going to come back.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation with Michael yesterday. We're here because of decisions we made years ago, and it's the great thing that we can sit and do this. If you had that time again, would you regardless of what's happened since, would you have made the same decision? With Aprilia, with...
I mean, I think that the Aprilia thing was a lucky escape because like they had a terrible year. Like, I mean, you talk to Craig now, he said that year was, you know, they would put an engine in, warm it up and it'd break, you know, and he said nearly every race was 3 or 4 in the morning. It was really bad. So that was a lucky escape. Yeah. No, I don't think I would, because I had a good year. I think I realised what I'd missed, you know what I mean? And it was a break from it. And I realised what I'd missed before.
Taking something away, realise how much you miss it, gives you that motivation to go again, but stronger.
Yeah.
I don't want to be back in this position.
Then I thought I blew it because I'd already turned them down. Yeah. Although it was a workshop-based job, maybe there's a chance to go to the track. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so I remember I was out on the town with Julian Boland. If you don't remember him, he was a mechanic from the past.
Yes, tall lad.
Yeah, he worked with me. Yeah, he worked with me with Plater. Yeah, Plater, and then he's actually an Olins guy in MotoGP now, or Moto2. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anyway, but he lives in Louth as well.
Yeah, I'm
good lad.
Picture him now.
Yeah, we had a good crack with him at Macau. Went to Macau. Anyway, that was the end of the year. So anyway, we'd been out in the town for some reason.
He's still with us, man. He's keeping up with this.
Anyway, so we'd been out in the town in the Lash. Saturday night, Sunday morning, got up to watch the Valencian Grand Prix warm up. Anyway, and there was this big announcement. Rossi was going to Yamaha. I mean, it was late to announce it, and it's all on, you know, on the TV that Rossi's going to Yamaha and is taking 4 mechanics with him. So I'm there, watch morning warm up. Didn't really think much of it. And a little bit later, the phone rings, and it was a guy from HRC. He said, "Oh, do you have any plans for next year?" And I went, "No." He said, "Oh, we want you to come, the news that we're losing some mechanics to Yamaha. Would you come and join Repsol Honda?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" It was like, this is my dream job now. This is what I wanted to. This is when I was a kid, looking at posters of Kenny's front. Deep down, I wanted to be in Grand Prix. Yeah. The Superbike thing was great, but it wasn't my path. I wanted to be, but it was a means to get to there, if you know what I mean.
Course.
Yeah, but not taking anything away from World Superbike. Some of the best years I've had in racing, but I always wanted to work in Grand Prix racing.
Albeit championships. You
yeah, although no, but it's 4-stroke. Back then it was 2-stroke.
Yeah.
When I wanted to be. Anyway, so this guy rang up. He said, "Yeah," and I'm like, anyway. After the race, he rang me back. He said, "Yeah, there's some guys coming to Louth to do a deal with this Honda thing for next year, because for 2004 they were going to get factory fire blades with Michelin tyres with Chianari and Rutter in 2004.
Right. Yeah.
So HRC guys were coming.
There's a huge effort. We spoke about that yesterday. That was an amazing
factory.
machine. That was
I'll come to that in a little while. Anyway, so these three bosses from HRC were coming to Louth. They'll bring you a contract. They'll be here Thursday. I'm like, again, Mike Elwood suite, 3 Japs. I signed my deal in the Mike Elwood suite to join Repsol Honda with Alex Barros in 2004. And I'm like, wow, this is like, you know. But anyway, Neil wanted his money's worth, and then we was going to do Macau, but HRC wouldn't allow us, or something happened with the V-twins. They wouldn't let us take them for some reason, I don't know. Anyway, so we wanted to go. There was Plato and Gus Scott, bless him, and we got him on board. So we took the 600s from Carl House. Carl House was British champion, bless him as well, on the CBR 600. So we took his bikes and went to Macau, and Plato rode, and Gus' bike, for some reason we couldn't get it running right. And even we'd like changed everything of summer, and it was a bit of a party. We had some good times. Then went to Thailand, Trimby Tours, Thailand after it. With beginners, you know, you get on the scooters, you're riding along, ease up the bang. It's fantastic time, you know, like it's really, really Keith, you know, down in the bars with Keith Ewan, and it was fantastic. So anyway, and then Neil said, "Oh, Pup, so I've already booked your flight to Japan to build this," because Neil thought I was staying. Yeah. Because it was all came about last minute, this HRC thing. So I had to explain to Neil. I said, "Neil, look, I've got this job in HR," and he said, "No, I'm pleased for you, you know, you go on and and he said, "But the other thing is, I've booked you to go to Japan to build this new Fireblade test bike for BSB next year." So I went. So I said, you can still in Macau and you still go on the holiday, but you'd have to leave one day early and then fly straight to Japan to build this blade. So, and Les Pearson was joining the team to work with Rutter, I think, 2004.
Yes, he did, yeah.
So I met Rutter at the Persimmon, you know, the bread shop, same hotel. You know,
Top of the stairs,
yeah,
left.
Got to the bread shop, left, met them. And then I didn't really know Les very well. So we went to HRC. All the Japanese went, "What are you doing? You don't start till next year." And they're thinking, "No, I've got this, you know, I mean, you know,
One more job.
And then, okay, you start on the V5s next year. So anyway, so I said to Les, because I was the engine builder, I said, "Les, you build the engine, you're going to be doing it next year, I'll just build the chassis." And I really enjoyed it. We built this really trick Fireblade, all carbon bodywork. So it was really, really nice. And Les built the engine, just built one bike, and that shipped that to Louth. And then I think my brother start 2004, but yeah, that was shipped, and that was like the first test bike for Rutter and Kianari, and then that was that, and then I finished the year, left, and then I remember I was going to see my mum, and I was just Saxelby, Dunham Bridge, and the phone rings, and because I got a mobile phone by then, you know.
Oh, you see,
and
your mobile phone, but it's only 20p for the bridge.
Yeah, and then Roger van der Bork, he was a coordinator of Repsol Honda. And he rang up, he said, "Which airport do you want to fly from?" I went, "Humberside?" He went, "Yeah, that's all right, I'll book you for Humberside then." And to go to the first test or whatever. And then he said, "Is that your preferred airport?" And yeah, it's close, whatever, yeah. Then we went to Japan, build a V5. So I'm there, there's like all the parts from the shelf, Honda V5. I mean, what a bit of kit.
Now we're talking.
And then this is like proper. So you get like a Japanese guy, he's guiding you, you get your manual. The other guy was Mark Barnett, a really good friend, a Kiwi mechanic. He'd worked all the way through Cavillier's world champion in the 2-stroke days. Then he ended up building engines at Repsol. He was on the other side 2004 with Nicky Hayden. Anyway, we got on really well, because he'd say to me, "What about this?" And we'd like bounce each other and we'd be there. Because we used to go on our own for a week to build. We used to build 3 engines. Yeah. And then the chassis guys come, and then 2 of them would go in the bike and one would be a spare. But in them days, you had a lot more engines, and you know. But the thing then was, like, you had a little phone like next to you. So you build an engine, you know, it'd probably take you 3 or 4 days, because, you know, there were a lot of measuring, and then you send them on a little trolley, and then you go to dyno, and you like that phone would ring, and then somebody would answer it, "Yeah," to go and pick it up. Sorry, yeah, you can pick it up, but you always think, shit, what if it blew up? You know, and that phone ring, and your heart's same thing.
Please still be in one piece.
Yeah, and one time, in the first ever V-twin I built in 2000, I went to the factory, phone ring, and come back, and it had broken. And it wasn't my fault, it was a component failure. Anyway, we rectified it, we changed some parts, but that feeling, and taking the oil pan off, and there's all bits, and Anyway, luckily it wasn't my fault. And this bloody Japanese mechanic, Beppu, I worked with later on, he used to phone you string, "Pup-san, engine broken again. Are you back?" "No, I'm joking, mate." Go, twat. It's every time. Beppu, yeah.
Because that's what you're waiting for.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the bad news.
Yeah,
And when it's not.
Because it's a big responsibility, you know. And so this V5, it was fantastic. It was what a bit of engineering. So we built those engines. And then what the deal was, then you didn't have we weren't restricted to how many engines you could have. So what we used to do, we used to build the bottom end everything. So we knew what the engine inside out. Then in Europe, in the truck, we just do the top end service. So like take the cylinder heads off, valves, the stuff what was lower mileage. And then you get to a certain mileage, you send the engine back, and then you just reservice the top end services in the truck. So me and Mark, on the setup days, we'd been there doing the engines while the mechanics were sorting the bikes out, sort of thing. So yeah, we Mark on great. We worked together for years, and then till we build the engines, and then till the engine freeze came, so we couldn't do it anymore. You know, because basically you couldn't. There's no need for it.
No.
But luckily, the good thing, the seamless gearbox came, so we were moved on to do the super tricky seamless gearbox.
When you were building, when you look back and you're building the RC45 engines, you're building the SP1, the SP2, and then you move on to the RC211. 211, wasn't it, the first one?
Yeah.
What were the differences between getting hold of a full factory unobtainium HRC? This is top of the pile.
Yeah.
What were the
I
differences?
mean, to be fair, there was many similarities. The V5, like rods and things like very similar to RC45. You know what I mean? Yeah, very similar. Like looking at it, you know, parts wise, but you used to adapt as well. Like the V twin was great. It was massive piston, massive valves. It was like, you know, agricultural really. You know, it is. And then the RC45, the last incarnation in 99, that was super trick. It was very, very, very trick, that engine. But its principle was the same. You know, you do the same for that engine, and you move on and you move on. But the V5, it was still cam-driven gears, the same how you did the backlash, how when you measure the crank, the clearances. You know, it's just a different spec.
Yeah,
it's just you building it to
principles. Yeah,
principles are the same. I wouldn't say it was more complicated. I mean, the oil pump was massive because you had scavenge pumps, and that was a big old thing. The oil pump, it was a trick, but it was just labour intensive because you had to measure everything, check everything. Then you go to the dyno, you have to strip it after the dyno, check everything.
Was the mileage less on it, or the sort of user parts and
no? They just wanted to
fresh times.
No, we used to check it, dyno it, strip it, clean it all, check for wear, recut the valve seats, put it all back together, and then they dyno it for half mileage, and then it go in the bike, or put it in the bike and dyno it. Excuse me. So that was that. But no, I mean, the similarities between the engines, the parts were very similar, although different sizes, different specs. But you got the gist. It's their character. Is the character of the HRC engine is always the same. You know, like the how they make things, how they package things.
I remember having the conversation with, and I'm sure this is right. You maybe be able to confirm this or not. I'd have no reason to disbelieve him. I remember chatting on a show years ago with Freddie Spencer, and Freddie explained that a lot of the geometry of the RC211V was very, very similar to the NSR 500 in terms of chassis geometry, head angle, that kind of thing. He said it's gone through, Honda have kept that that family going, and the measurements are very much similar.
Yeah,
to the bike, because it's still a Honda.
Yeah.
And that's how it rides, that's how it feels.
It's always like when you went to certain tracks, Yamahas are better.
Yeah.
It's the character of the bike. So I think there's always the character in a bike, I think. But like when that Honda, when I first started, like now you couldn't change the head pipe, you couldn't change the pivot. It was all like, it was welded up. You know,
this is the Honda ride it.
Yeah, this is it. You got to go off and ride it. And there was only a few years later where you got the head cups, what you could put in, and the adjustable pivot. I remember with Nicky, the first test at Nicky, we had to change the chassis to change the pivot. I mean, a chassis came to change the pivot.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like you're right. Yeah, there's some characters, and Honda have always done it this way, and this is a, you know.
Well, Chris Walker had that issue, didn't he, when he went in 2001?
Yeah, on the Shell bike. Yeah,
on the Shell bike. These are the measurements. This is the angles of the rear sets, the bars.
Yeah.
Go and ride it, Walker-san. That's yours.
Yeah. So yeah, it's true. So the V5. I mean, what a bit of kit. And then obviously every year you went, it changed, developed, and so we did that. Built the engines from 4 till 6. 2006, and then it changed. Then we went to pneumatic, which you couldn't, and the engine regulation, so you couldn't. The pneumatic, you had to do it it's in the head. You had to do it in a special room because you couldn't get dirt in the things like that. And
so you've had to grow with the sport as well, haven't you? So your experience and your know-how has grown with the sport, especially working at that level. It's brought you along as well, and having to understand what's going on, and in terms of development.
Yeah.
It doesn't stand still, especially for someone as big as HRC, for the amount of years that you spent with them.
No, I mean, like you used to go and it was like, wow, all the parts there, you look at, well, that's new. But it's like anything, you just adapt and get on with it and you learn from it and different methods, different styles. And, oh no, this is different this year. But the thing is with them, you can always ask somebody. Don't be afraid to ask. You know, there's plenty of Japanese guys around there. But I just remember I was quite privileged because that year, 2004, obviously, Rossi went to Yamaha, and it was a big thing for Honda. Are we going to beat him? We've got the better bike. We didn't turn out that way. And I remember we went to Kyalami. Beg your pardon, Velcom.
Yeah.
And we don't go there anymore.
First round of the season.
And you beat. It was Biaggi, wasn't it? Yeah. Biaggi was on the camel bike, and that was bad. That and Honda was like under pressure, and then I remember I missed. It was. We did Kyalami, then we went somewhere else, and then there was Assen in Brazil. And I'd never been to Brazil ever. And I even went Honda, I even went a Superbike was going to go there, and I mean yellow fever jab, and they cancelled it. Then I thought, oh great, Barros, Brazilian ride, I'm going to Brazil. Yeah. HRC's, no, you're going to go to Japan, build engines.
What?
So I didn't go to Assen, I didn't go to Brazil, and I had to go to Japan. Went there for 2 weeks. And it is tough there, Japan, like there. Not tough, it just wears you down a little bit, you know, like.
In what way?
It's just tiring, like really super long days. Because the Japanese will work till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. You're there and like you go back to your hotel, the hotel's like a shoebox and you're on your own. There's no other gaijins there or English people and on your own. And and then I did 2 weeks there because they were building their bikes for, so then they wanted Jibunau and they wanted, who's the other one, Biaggi on like Repsol Honda spec bikes, but there weren't enough engine builders in Japan, so I had to go and help them. So I was building engines for Jibunau, for Biaggi, just to get the stock.
As well as working with Alex.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought I was quite privileged to do that, or proud, because it was like asking me to go and help them in their hour of need, if you know what I mean.
In their own backyard.
Yeah, exactly. So I went there, and then I'd done 2 weeks, and then Ishii-san came. He said, could you stay 1 more week? And I'm like, oh. And you can't say no, can you? Oh, all right, then I'll do 1 more week. And that's like 3 weeks I was there in Japan, like, and I was ready to leave by then, you know, every day building. God knows how many engines I built in that time, but flipping heck, it was tough, that.
But this is what you do for your own profile, for your own self-worth. It's like, well, this is what I've got to do. This is my job. This is my career. This is the life that I want. And sometimes we say, it's not all glamour and champagne bottles. And
and then we went, we did the rest of the season with Barros, and Barros didn't live up to expectation. Honda really, obviously, Rossi was romping off the championship, and it was tough. And then sort of that Barros, they got rid of Barros, and I think he went to Camel team then. And then 2005, they decided to take Max Biaggi. And but then we thought, right, we'll be working with Biaggi. Anyway, as it came to, Nicky wasn't over. He wanted to change as well, a bit like Aaron did. He wanted to refresh his team. So Nicky came to our side, and then Biaggi went to the other side. But when the Japanese said, Pup, you'll be working with Biaggi and Mark Barnett. And then they said, hang on a minute, they're both engine builders. One needs to be on the other side. Oh, sorry, we made a mistake. You need to be with Nicky. Anyway, sort it all out. But what happened after when the Yamaha deal with Rossi, Jeremy Burgess left, Axe, Brenty, and Gary. So who stayed was Pete Benson, who did the data, and Dickie Smart, who was Doohan's mechanic. You know, and I remember looking at Grand Prix and like, oh, it's Dickie Smart. You know, Dickie Smart, what a legend. You know, a bit like a celebrity mechanic. Then I ended up working with him. What a guy! He was fantastic. He was organised everything. We went to Japan. You need a Japanese phone put and Bertie. And then, by the way, Craig joined me at Repsol Honda as well.
Back there again.
Because he had enough of Aprilia. They remembered Craigie. He came to work with me as well. So, but he ended up on Biaggi's side that year. He worked with me with Barros, then he was on Biaggi's side for 2005. Go to Japan. You need a Japanese. Yes, Dickie. He's spending I don't know how many thousands of yen on a phone. Right, you need this laptop. Yes, Dickie. And you need like, then it was A&T dialogue. You need this, lads. Yes, Dickie. And everything he said, yes, Dickie. Because he was like, he worked with McDoohan.
He was the god, wasn't he? That was it.
Then he left and he went up to work with McDoohan's private jet business. He was a great guy. And then Pete stayed. I think they were a little bit upset they didn't go, but you can't take everybody. Of course you can't. So Yamaha had to keep some staff. actually Brenty was already at Yamaha, beg your pardon, he was already at Yamaha. So they had to keep him. So there was no room at the inn for those two. So they stayed, the ashes of Rossi's team, and we joined them. Me, and funny enough, another guy came, David Gutierrez, who works in the test team at KTM. So he worked with us.
Another one.
Yeah. Pete Benson, he worked at KTM for a little while. And so we did finish the year, and then we went with Nicky, and then we had a great year with Nicky. And then Pete Benson was his crew chief then. He moved up. Ramon Furcado, he went with Barros to Camel Bike.
That was kind of, as we said earlier, talk about planets aligning, bringing Pete in, your experience, and putting everybody around Nicky.
Yeah.
To give him every opportunity.
Yeah.
To take that championship. Tell us about that year, because it's gone down in history, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Especially with, God bless, another one. God bless him with another one.
I mean, that first of all, 2005, we went to Laguna. We went back to Laguna. Well, we went back to Laguna the first time. Nicky, odds-on favourite, back of, he knew it like a back of his hand. We went there. He won the race. Great, American, and went to the aquarium, had a massive party afterwards. It's fantastic, really, really good. And then that was good. He won one race. He was getting a few podiums, and it was competitive. He was happy, and then coming to 2005, and then Honda had launched this new Grand Prix bike. It was a G model or something. It was lighter, a bit smaller, different engine. We tested it in Sepang, and Danny Pedrosa joined the team in 2006, but he was a rookie. He needed to concentrate on the standard bike, just learn the craft. So Nicky had the choice to try this new bike, and he tried it. I mean, he wasn't like blew him away or anything, but he preferred it a little bit. So, right, okay, straight from Spain, you got to go to Japan and build two of these bikes. And he's like, okay. So we built these two bikes, went to a rev. It wasn't handling great. Then the HRC sent like I said at the time, the pivot was, he couldn't change the pivot.
Yeah.
He sent a pivot, a frame with a different pivot position. So, but it wasn't coming till Friday morning. So obviously FP1's in Friday morning. So Thursday, we completely stripped the bike. Friday morning, came in at 5 o'clock in the morning. The frame was there. We built the bike, and then, it's better, it's good. Then again, we had to make the other bike the same. Saturday morning, the other frame came at 5 o'clock, built that. Jeez. And then so we had two bikes the same. And then that was our standard bike. And then we never touched it really got developed, but it was a one-off bike. Only Nicky had that bike, the G, which is just behind Ben's head on that thing there.
I see, it's a bike, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a super, we obviously the poor parts guy, he had to have two sets of, it was completely different to Danny's and Chibinau's and all the other, Melandri and all those guys. And Casey was on the LCR Honda that year.
Of course, yeah, he was.
And so we cracked on, we got a few podiums. We got a lot of podiums actually. We weren't winning, but we're ticking away. Gets to Laguna, won the race again. And Rossi had a DNF, a water pipe broke or something. I thought, hang on a minute, we're in here. And so anyway, it was tough order anyway, and we were chipping away. We had horrendous clutch issues that year, because Nicky was so aggressive on the clutch on the start.
Oh, really?
There's none of this,
none of this well, there's not what we've got now.
So he used to just bend the clutch plates, and obviously when it come to back shifting, because you had to use a clutch in them, you couldn't back shift.
Who knew?
Yeah, you couldn't back shift, and he was struggling and horrendous. And it was a tough year, like on that side of things. But we chipped away. You won in Assen when Colin last corner. Rossi broke his wrist. He was out. I thought, here we go. It's yours for the taking. And we had about a second lead last lap. And Colin was catching. Got to the last chicane, overtook him. Hit the thing. He spun off, went in the air, crashed, and Nicky crossed the line. And we got that win. So that was a lucky win. So we won 2 races. And we chipped away. Anyway, actually, the year after Colin got his revenge, because 2008, we were in third, run out of fuel, and Colin overtook us for third, so he got his
revenge,
payback. Yeah,
that's right. I remember.
Anyway, we went to Portugal. So we got a new clutch. We were testing. We had, all these new procedures for the clutch, and goes out in the race. Got a good start. Fantastic. We overtook Danny Pedrosa. Then Danny Pedrosa came, overtook us and crashed and took us out. And it was like, oh my God. Then both of them in the gravel trap. You know what I mean? It was like, wow. This is
iconic footage of Nicky.
And it was like, that's it, game over. We're not going to be world champions this year. And it was like, and Rossi was leading. And then luckily, the last lap, Tony Elias came past and he beat him by a fingernail. And that was 5 points difference. And it was like, that, because in the end, we were 4 points in that wins the world
That was the pivotal moment. It wasn't the crash that was the pivotal moment.
That
it was Elias beating
off
Rossi.
the wheel or off the tyre was the 5-point difference, and Rossi lost the championship by 4. So anyway, afterwards, I mean, you can't revel in it. You know, we're like, is what it is.
What was Nicky like when he came back to the garage?
He was flipping out. He was. Alberto Puig was Danny's manager. They went to the motor. He wouldn't open the door, and Danny came. We were packing up. Danny sat on the engine box like a little schoolboy, thinking, "Sorry, boy," you know. And he's like, he didn't want to leave. He felt really bad. Anyway, so we had a meeting, and he said, "Look, only thing we can do is, it's a long shot. Get to Valencia." Danny said, "I'll do all I can to, you know, make it right." And so that's all we can do. It's happened. So we went out with Danny's mechanics, had a curry in Portugal, you know, a few drinks, you know.
It's what it is.
It is what it is. But we didn't realise how badly Nicky had injured his shoulder. So I think there's a week off, and then we went to Valencia for the showdown.
That's right.
Thing. And went there, and it was a long shot. I think it was 8 points or something. Or I can't really remember, but it was. But Rossi was, you know, he only had to just finish in front of him, and he was on a roll. And we qualified on the second row, I think. And I was like, oh God, you know, with Valencia 5th or 6th. And then went into the weekend, and then into the race, and Nicky got a great start, and Rossi didn't, and they actually touched each other, and Rossi ended up going backwards a little bit. So we were in about 4th or 5th. Danny was in front, and Rossi got, well, you know, you see, Rossi got stuck behind Casey, and, you know, he was struggling and this, and I think Christopher Mulan was on Suzuki. Anyway, we gets out, and then Danny signalled to Nicky to come through. We were in 3rd. And then Rossi was in 7th. It wasn't enough. No, it wasn't enough. But he was just, you know, thought, you know. Next thing, look up, there's this yellow bike in the gravel. We thought it was Colin Edwards. Okay, it's Rossi. It's in the gravel. Then, but you still think, well, we've still got to finish 3rd. Right. No, sorry, we've still got to finish.
Still got to finish.
And Rossi can get back on, and you never know. Checo was on the Tech 3. He could pull over, and he could come out. I thought, we're in it, but it's still not over. And everybody's super excited. Look, calm down. It's not over till we cross the line, because those 2 or 3 Yamahas in front, they pull over. He needs to finish.
You need a signal, don't you? Let him.
Yeah.
Valentino was quicker than.
So I was a pit board. It's the thing here. This is the pit board from the Nicky Gia, that one. So I was putting the pit board out, P3 OK, and then there's Ramon Orin. He was a crew chief. Sorry, the data guy there, calculating it all. If Rossi needed to get to P9 or something, and he would have won it, and he was in P13. But then if somebody had but I said, yeah, but if people crash, you know, it's not over. And then Nicky crossed the line in P3. Bayless won it, of course.
Just because on the camel bike.
Rossi second. We were 3rd, and then Rossi, I think he crossed the line 13th, because his bike was he rode, but the quick shifter or something was broken, and we won it, and we couldn't believe it. It's like, wow, that was unbelievable, really. So obviously we absolutely got drunk, and Nicky brought the trophy into the hotel. We're all there, the fantastic. Even like Danny's mechanics, they were great. We all partied together. Then next day we had a journalist test. Flipping.
Oh no!
And it was like, oh God.
Now you know why they have Mondays off.
We went in there.
Everything goes on a Tuesday now.
Tipping fuel in for Alan Cathcart. You know, this is the last thing you want to do. You know what I mean? And somebody's fallen off in the pit lane. Adrian Goss turned up with Keo, a present for him for doing well in the BSB. Yeah. Keo can have a ride on it. He crashed it.
No.
Yeah, turn 4, 5, 6, turn 6, and he crashed it. That was. But at the end of the day, we were going to the 800s a year. We were going to test the 800 later in the week. So it's okay. It's only the old bike.
The last of the 990s.
Yeah. Because 2007 the regulations changed. So
that's right.
It was everybody was hanging. Oh my God! And then this journalist test, and then we tested with Nicky on the 800 a couple of days later. We're number 1, and I want number 1. The only other chance I'm going to get to have a number 1. He put number 1 in it. But he didn't go on the 800. No, it was he didn't go on with it at all.
It just didn't fit his style at all, did it?
And then we sort of
wanted.
Yeah, bless him. Then we had 2 years, like 7 and 8th, and sort of saw he never really gelled with it, and then it was a Stoner era 7. 2007, he jumped off the Honda to the Ducati and dominated the first year of the 800s.
And the Bridgestones, didn't he?
Yeah.
On the Ducati. Yeah. And then Valentino wanted the Bridgestones so he could try and match him.
Yeah.
Valentino's last championship in 09.
Yeah. And then, so then he decided to go to Ducati. We took Dovi. Mm-hmm. So we worked with Dovi for 3 years. We won at Donington Park 2009. It was like a wet dry situation. Yeah. And he was leading, but then Colin and Randy DePune, they were catching him. He was like hanging on, and then he sort of saved him a bit because we wasn't having the best of time, and HRC, I think they wanted to replace him.
Well, they were running 3 bikes at that point.
No, what happened was we did 2009, and then 2010, and then for 11, they'd signed Casey Stoner in March or something ridiculous in Jerez, beginning of the year.
For 2012.
For 11.
Oh, 11,
yeah,
sorry.
For 2011. So that means I thought, well, we've got 3 riders and only 2 seats, you know. So I thought, right, anyway. So then that year, Sachsenring, 2010, Daniel Pedrosa won the race at Sachsenring, and Nakamoto, who ended up, he'd been in Formula 1 and he came back. He said, I want to talk to you. So he took me out to the pit wall, and he said, next year we've got Casey Stoner, as you know. We've got this new technology coming. We want you to work on it. So you'll be working with Casey Stoner. And I thought, whew, that's all right, because there's 3 riders, only 2 staff. I thought, fantastic. So anyway, I was pretty pumped with that. I was excited. Casey was there, he's good, and we worked with Casey Stoner. So then as the season went on, Livio Supo got involved. Casey didn't want to bring his team, but Livio Supo wanted to bring the Italians. So in the end, they brought a guy from Ducati, and then he said he's going to do the gearbox and you're not. And I thought, I was quite upset about that, really, because I was told, and in the end I wasn't, and that was not really correct for me. You know, I'd been told I was going to do it, and then to bring somebody from an outsider to do this technology, what do I want to keep secret?
Especially you've not been in that situation before either, because everything has been your job. That's your job. Pup, you're doing this. Pup, you're doing this. But then to have that happen, that's a curveball you weren't expecting.
No, I took that really hard. I thought that, I mean, not only that, because I thought I was okay, but for them to say you're going to do this, and then they're not to tell you you're not going to do it, to say this guy's going to do it now. So then I didn't know what was going to happen. No. So I was really upset about it. And then what happened was Stoner came. But then what happened was Dovi had in his contract, if he was in the top 5 by Laguna, he had a contract. So they had to keep him.
Right, that's right.
He had to keep him because it was more expensive not to pay him than to keep him. So, but we only knew it was for 1 year to see his contract. So then we did 11. So I ended up working with Dovi in the end. So I got 1 more year. And they said, no, it's unfair for you to go to Stoner. But they, you know, because now you've got to work with Dovi. But I didn't care. I wanted to go and work with Casey because I knew selfishly that he was long-term and Dovi wasn't, you know what I mean? So anyway, comes in the year, obviously Dovi was out, and then I thought, right, what's going to happen? So then 2012, this new technology was the seamless gearbox, this super duper factory, unbelievable bit of kit, you know. So it's right, we're going to have 3 factory bikes next year. It's going to be Casey, Danny, and Marco Simoncelli. So we want you to go work with Simoncelli with do the gearbox. I said, that's fine by me. I know he had a good year, great guy, and I thought this is the next best thing. So I'm getting paid by HRC. I work HRC closed, but I go to Gresini, I do the gearbox, I take the gearbox away, do it in the HRC truck. So I'm like on loan, if you know what I mean. So it was great. I'm no little boss, you know what I mean? It's fantastic. So I met him in Phillip Island, had a chat with him, and this is Pop, he's going to do your gearbox, you got factory bike, blah, blah, blah. And then a week later.
He podiumed that weekend as well, didn't he?
Podium. Then a week later in Sepang, well, everyone knows what happened, and it was like, wow, that was, yeah.
How do you deal with things like that?
I don't know. It upset me, not because I was going to work with him, because it was because he was like massive in the sport, and they hadn't really lost anybody massive for a long, long time, and nobody expected it to happen.
No.
And it's like, wow. And I remember coming home and I was upset, and Toby Mooney rang me up, and he was upset, and I said, it's weird. And oh yeah, it really upset me. Although I didn't know him, I'd spoke to him once, but yeah, it had a bit of an effect, and I was like really upset about it. And then as as it turned out, I said, okay, what do we do now? And so HRC decided to take Bautista from, because Suzuki had, they would finished, I think, finished. So they took Bautista. So I was doing the same thing with Bautista in Gresini. So I used to go over, do the gearbox, used to take it, after the race, I have to take it out. You couldn't leave it in or anything like that. It's super secret. So I did it for Bautista. For 3 years we did it with that.
Matt was explaining that. He said they were working on the bike. He said, literally, you just walk in, take the gearbox out, put it in the box and disappear. Yeah. And that was it. You'd never be seen again.
Yeah, it was a little plastic toolbox. You used to put it in and then go in the truck, build it, come back. You used to put a screen around it, like a Embarrassment.
That was the biggest game changer at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Going to a seamless gearbox.
Yeah.
And the technology that Honda had invented and developed, and it was put.
Yeah.
Look after this.
Yeah, it was the guy who developed it. It was he developed Honda had a downhill mountain bike with a super trick little gearbox in it, and he got banned by the UCI. So they said, what are we going to do now then? So let's develop something for MotoGP. So the guys who did the downhill mountain bike gearbox, because it didn't have a derailleur, it was like an internal gearbox. It was a super trick thing. And so they said, well, we'll put you on the seamless gearbox project. And that was fantastic, their kit. That was super. It was like a Swiss watch. It was so nice, so factory. It was just typical HRC.
And not much you can tell us about it.
No, not really. No.
Just the fact he was there.
Yeah.
That's the seamless gearbox. That's what it is.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
So you
to
know
work.
how it works.
Yeah,
You intimately know how a seamless gearbox works.
yeah, of course. But like it was so secret, and like a lot of people didn't know about it till the guys from Casey Stone from Ducati came, and then it was all that. Everybody knew about it. So I'll leave it there with that. And in the end, the guy who did the gearbox, they fired him anyway. So, but then it was too late. Casey injured, he retired. Yeah, he retired, in 2000. He did 2011, 12. He was world champion 11.
World champion 11 and retired at the end of
Massive crash in 12 in Indianapolis.
broke his ankle.
Yeah, and then he just saw the year out. And then I remember Le Mans, he announced his retirement in Le Mans, May. And then he said, I'm quitting. That was it.
Competition.
Yeah. So that was that. And then, so I did Bautista. We love Grassini team.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great people. Fausto, bless him, another one who's left us as well. Him, the team, it was great. Great team. One of the guys, the fuel injection guy, Frank, he's at Ferrari F1 now. So we caught up with him sometimes on, he comes to one of the rounds and catch up, and he tells us some stories from Ferrari, and it's really, really cool. A little group still we keep from them days and chat.
Oh, that's nice. It's still,
I'm not going to tell you what the group's called, but it's quite rude. But yeah, we caught with Frank a few times, and yeah, it's good. And then, like I say, we did Grassini, and then Grassini got the Aprilia gig. Aprilia wanted to come back, but they had to go in with the team.
Yeah.
So they come in the Aprilia with Grassini. So then I was like, right, what happens now? And then Mark VDS wanted to run a team, Michael Bartholomew, another guy. People have the opinion, I think he's a great guy. It was
all that matters.
He was fantastic with us. He said, right, he put a deal together to have a bike with Scott Redding.
Yep.
And it was like, great, we're an English rider. Because Scott was in Grassini on the CRT bike.
That's right.
So I knew him, he was on the side of the garage, so I knew him a little bit, spoke to him, and then we've got this bike. But again, he never gelled with the bike. But we put a great team. Chris Pike came. It was me, Chris Pike, Bertie again, Craig Burton. A few of the guys put the band back together. A good year. And then I remember we had a podium in Mazzano. So it started on slicks and it rained. It's a race actually, yeah. So it started to rain and we were on slicks. Then we crashed at turn 4. He came in, he took the wet bike. He went on the wet bike, the track dried up. We repaired the dry bike. He came in for that bike and we finished 3rd. So we did 2 pit stops, repaired the bike and he finished 3rd. And Bradley Smith stayed on slicks the whole race. He finished 2nd and Marquez won it. That was big for VDS. It was the first year. And they got a podium. That was fantastic.
You were working with Matt at the time as well?
No, it was a year later. After. So then Scott Redding, and he went to Pramac. He didn't get on
when Tito came.
And then Tito came, again, a lovely guy. Then Matt came.
Yep.
We worked together with Tito Rabat that year. A tough year and a lot of crashes. It was terrible. Worked with brother. It's hard working with brother. I don't know if what he said, but
I think he was super competent because there was 5 years between 4 or 5 years between you in age as well, and you'd never had the opportunity to work together, and you have that thing in the paddock where you can go all weekend and actually not see each other.
No.
So it's not like you lived in each other's pockets or had worked together previously. So yeah, he said he enjoyed it, but he said the dynamic was just a little bit weird, especially older brothers.
Yeah, because he's my younger brother still. It's not like
so
kid brother.
So
I'm still looking out for him.
Yeah,
it was odd, and I didn't really like it.
No.
I mean, it was weird, and then it was a bit odd. I saw my little brother, so I was like almost watching what he was doing, like making sure he didn't mess up. I don't know, it was a bit odd. It was too,
like at secondary school,
you're leaping now. We had some massive busters, I tell you. It was.
Doesn't mention that.
Yeah. One time, I had to go at him for something. He had a monk on or something. I said, just fucking do it, and he didn't, And Craig Burton comes in to mediate, now. So anyway, we did that, and I'd sort of had enough. Don't get me wrong, not the team or Rabat. It was just, wanted something different. And then KTM.
Well, that was a lot of years at Honda, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you like...
The MotoGP, that you were getting on, what, 12, 13 years?
I started in 2004. So yeah, that was end of 16 I left.
That was end of 16,
yeah.
12 years, yeah.
And then if you look back to the superbikes, which was factory bikes, factory Honda. So I'd always like being a factory mechanic, if you like, with Honda. And then this KTM...
Yeah, none of this privateer nonsense.
Yeah, no, I never came through the privateer ranks, no. So anyway, I remember beginning of 2016, I was in... Not Mike Leitner, because Mike Leitner was Danny Pedrosa's crew.
He was.
He left for a couple of years, and then he ended up being the team manager. Right. And he rang me up, he said, look, we're going to do this KTM thing, do you want to come? But if we to do a year's test team first in 16, and I said, look, I can't, I've got a contract. But I'm interested. But I said, I really want you to come. I said, look, I'm not coming in 16. I don't want to mess contracts up. I've got a contract under. This is how it is. And he went, yeah, I respect that. He said, well, I'll talk to you beginning of, no, that must have been 15, wasn't it? So yeah, it was 60. So,
so 16 with Tito, end of 16 to 17.
Yeah, it says, I'll come to you end of 16 to have a chat with you. Yeah, 15, that was it. So he came end of 15. I must have done 2 years with Rabat then. Hang on. Let's see, get this right.
How did I work that? So 15, yeah, VDS with Scott. Oh, 15. 16 with Tito.
Yeah.
17 was KTM and Bradley.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. So
that's why we do that. That's why we do it behind the scenes.
He came end of 15. Yeah. That's I remember now.
Yeah.
So end of 15, he came, he said, look, we want you to 15 to come to the test team in
16.
16. I said, I can't, I've got a contract.
Now where we're with VDS with Tito.
So then end of 16, he said, no, beginning of 16, sorry, I get this right. He came to Qatar the first race, and I was with VDS. And there was like these big settees at the back, you know, Bedouin tent and all that. And we sat down there, and he said, look, when you come in 17, this is, because I used to drive a truck as well for Honda, plus, you know, it was more money and all this. He said, this is the package, what do you want? And he said, he gave me a price range, and obviously went to the top. You'd have to drive the truck. We've got two jobs. You can either be chief mechanic, or you can be what you do now, gearbox, clutch, engine, bits and bobs. He said, I really want you to be the chief mechanic, so I want you to come and organise, because the KTM needs people with experience to set the team up and how we go about racing and to control things in the garage. So anyway, I sat down and he offered me a figure, and it was like, that's decent. And he said, well, look, concentrate on your job now. I respect that. He said, well, have a chat in a couple of months. I'm coming to a few Grand Prix. So then he came to 16, he came to Barcelona. He said, look, I want you. Do you want to come to the workshop, have a look around? So I said, yeah, okay. So I booked a flight. I went, I think between Assen and something, I can't remember. Went to Austria, booked a hotel, walked into KTM, he showed me around, walking down the corridor, bumped into Aki, who was Jack Miller's manager, who was in Mark VDS. And he's like, that's it.
You ever seen me?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, all right, yeah, okay. And ironically, he was my team manager for next year, Aki.
Yeah.
Again. So he winked at me, and then I went into so there's Mike Leitner, knows my history, knows me, goes into this room with the technical director, Sebastian Rees, who's still there now. So this Sebastian, he didn't know me. He'd been working in German Superbike on the RC8. You know,
okay. Yeah.
So he didn't really know who was who. And so he says, right then, just run through your career. So I went, I've done this. And he went, and Mike's just laughing like, this guy's no idea, you know. And he went, okay, right, okay. So, yeah, I think you're suitable for the job. Like, and Mike's just laughing, leaning back in his chair, just smirking, laughing his head off, thinking, crikey, this is funny. So anyway, he offered me the job. But then Mike said, look, I want you to be chief mechanic. And I said, yeah. And I'm glad, because the gearbox thing, it wasn't a Honda gearbox, you know. So he said, I want you to organise everything, control everything in the garage. And so I said, yeah, I'll be the chief mechanic then. And so that was that. And then he said, right, you concentrate into the season. I signed up. And then in Austria, Spielberg, I told Marco Bartholomew, I said, look, I'm going to KTM. He said, I sort of knew you were, but I want you to stay. And he offered me more money than HRC. And I said, but the trouble is, if I'm in a VDS contract, I can't do the gearbox. And that's what I want to do. If it was Honda, that's the other thing. I want an HRC contract. And he offered me a deal to stay. And I said, look, I'd love to. I love the team. It's great, but this is what I want to do. And we really wanted him to stay. And fair play to him. And he offered me a great deal. And I said, no, I've made my mind up. I went to Austria, I saw the bike, I saw what they were doing, and I thought, this is a bit of me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they were showing, like there, you could see design, you know, HRC, you could see no CAD stuff, nothing. When that bike was there, that was it.
That's
KTM.
You work with the end product.
At KTM, they opened it up. They said, we need to learn from you guys. So they were showing us, you know, computer, you know, CAD designs this. It's more, you're part of the thing.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so open. You can take pictures, you can do what you want. We need to improve this bike. By any means, we need to make this bike a winner. So we need your experience, how things work in the garage, how we do this, how we put a fairing on. You need to streamline everything. So this is what we need from you. And the other chief mechanic on the side, Christoph, he was the chief mechanic, if you like, at Repsol, always opposite me on the other side of the garage.
Yep.
He came as well. So KTM got me and Christoph. So we grew all together.
Years and years of HRC experience.
Yeah. So we grew the bike, and look, we didn't make it into a Honda. We've been made the theories and the methods, how you work, like to KTM, like brought that experience, how things are run, how things
Honda always were sort of Kaizen, small steps.
Yeah.
And if you do that, why does it change that? I know it takes a long time, but it's what brought Honda the success that it did.
Yeah.
Because if you change one thing, if you change 4 things at the same time, well, what made the difference?
Yeah.
So step by step.
Yeah, so we came in, a finished contract with HRC, and then, I remember, it was Valencia. Saturday morning, my mum rang up, my grandmother had died. I was like, crikey. And then I was moving to KTM, and I was like, I was super emotional because my grandmother had died. And then Sunday night, I was saying goodbye to HRC, and I walked into the KTM box, and I was all over the place. I was just like, and it was late night, so we did a test, and it was like, I didn't know where I was really. Anyway, we cracked on, and then we built this team with Bradley Smith. It was great, a great little team. Yeah, it was difficult. Qatar went to the first round, and we were at the back of the grid, and we're 3 seconds off the pace. But it was great just to see them incremental steps, and we kept chipping away, never give up, testing. It was full on. It was great, and being part of it and helping. The engineers had come from there, or you go to Austria and then, we need to do it like this, and you had everybody, and not just me, I'm not saying just me, but every mechanic and everybody had an input of how to make it better from years of experience. There was guys at Kawasaki, there was guys at all the Mike Leitner put an unbelievable team of people together. He
knew what was needed.
He knew who he needed, and everybody. We would counting, one time Zarco called us a bunch of amateurs or something, and we calculated in our group, and we're over 200 years of experience, you know what I mean? In
200 years of experience, multiple world champions.
And he said we're a bunch of
multiple
rookies.
race winners.
Yeah.
Have someone hat French.
And Erky calculated, says, how did it finish? He said, I calculated over 200 years of experience in here.
Amateur my ass.
But it was good. And KTM were great, the Red Bull. It was, it's fantastic. It's a great team, great bunch of people. You feel involved, you do more hands-on with things. With Honda, it's more, maybe it's a little bit different now because they've got concessions, but more you were just fitting things at Honda, and now you're fitting things and making things and adapting things, which is
to
great.
Put your opinion forward and go, well, actually, if we change this, what do you think about this, guys? Have that.
Yeah. And there's no arrogance.
Done by somebody else.
And the designer's not upset. No, he said, that's great. And you take it on board.
So he's learning that.
Yeah, it's great. It is really, really, really good. I remember when we went to the first machine build in Mundafing, and I made a massive list like this. And Mike said, right, there's a room, probably 30 people. He said, right, pup, you stand up and go through the bike. And I'm like, oh God, this is embarrassing because these people have built this bike, and I had to how we can improve it, how we can do it.
Yeah, tearing.
I did it
in a polite way, but you're literally having to dismantle.
I said, oh, we should do it like this way. And now in about an hour, and Mike just went, he's nodding, he's going. Mike's just nodding his head like that in approval, and just not in a horrible way. Just,
no, because they've only got their experience.
The thing is, I can't keep saying, I said in the previous manufacturer, we did it, we did this or we did that, and this is the better way of doing it. So you had to be a bit diplomatic because you didn't want to piss them off, if you know what I mean.
But it worked. Race winning motorcycles.
Yes.
Regardless of wet, dry, whatever, the bike has won a race.
Yeah. Well, we've won 7 races.
Exactly.
Yeah. And but the first, obviously it takes time, and then Pole was fast, and it was good. And then Red Zarco, he wasn't so good, and then Brad came on board. But yeah, but yeah, still enjoy it. Still having good times, good team, good bunch of lads as well. That's important as well.
Massively.
When you're away and like, even like, unfortunately, like Jez has left now, but like Jez Wilson, our coordinator.
He finished.
Yeah, he's leaving.
No, he's not been so well. But
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He just had enough.
Chap's had enough.
Yeah, Chap's had enough.
Finally.
So he's left, but if you were down, he'd come and sweep up and just say something and make you laugh, and then everything would be all right again.
That man has stories
Yeah.
from John Hopkins and Suzuki, and there are some ridiculous stories that Jez has got.
He came to
Maybe we'll have him on one day, but it'll be like a 10-minute podcast. I can't keep that in. Keep that in.
He came to Ben's house last week for dinner.
Did he?
Yeah, because we good friend. He only lives at Spalding. So
Wonderful. Yeah, he's not far.
he came with his mum, and then he started telling me stories about when he used to work at Clive Paget's with Jason Vincent, and then he got on about the John Hopkins years, and then that was that, and then yeah, the KTM thing. Yeah, I'm glad I did it. It's been good. It's been good so far. It's different to the Honda thing, but
not as good as 2 hours and 45 minutes sat here doing that.
No, yeah.
How does time fly?
Yeah, I've got loads more stories as well. I bet.
know.
Yeah.
This is the thing, because that means we can do it again.
Yeah. Why not?
That's the best thing. And I said this to Matt as well, is like, this is the introduction. This is letting people know where you've been, what you've been doing. And then the next time you come on, there'll be story, because there are of a 20+ year career.
Yeah.
The 25 years and more career.
I think it's 28 now.
It's 28 getting on for that. So there's two things left before we finish, because I know that those memory cards are going to be full shortly, because I've still got Rutter on there from yesterday. So an hour and a half with Rutter, 3 hours with you. They're going to be about full.
Sorry if I went on a little bit.
No, but this is what it's about. This is about you.
Yeah.
You don't need to hear from me. This is off track. It's not the Dave Neal show. This is about you. This is Pup Lloyd's show. So yeah, the more you talk, you don't want to hear from me. That's the whole point of it. We do our Patreon scheme where every month we have people who contribute monthly to the show, which we're super grateful for. Thank you very much. Links are in the description below, both for the YouTube and for the Patreon page. Usually we get more questions, but people don't know yet. And this is why next time it'll be even better, because we'll go, Jesus Christ, you've done all that. Because you follow the sport, you get to know people, but you kind of don't know their history, which is why we get the benefit of doing this. But one of our great patrons, Craig Lowe, he put a question in, which I think is a really, really good question. Of all the successes you've had over the years, of all the championships that you've won, which one would you have liked to have seen through the rider's eyes? Which I think is a fantastic question. I'm going to use that one again, Craig.
Through the rider's eyes.
Yeah.
So,
because I'll buy you some time. You know what it means. You know what they've gone through.
Yeah.
What Colin's been through. What John Kocinski's been through.
It's got to be Nicky Hayden. Definitely. Yeah. I think because he did come from he came from Superbike and AMA.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And then when he from AMA straight into in 2004, I think, or 3. And for somebody to come from AMA and not even do World Superbikes apart from that, and then to fight and beat Valentino Rossi, and that must have been tough for him. And what he went through with what happened with Danny, what happened and that, I think that's probably the one.
I think that's the perfect answer.
Yeah.
I don't know any rider that's gone into MotoGP and become world champion without going through Moto3 and Moto2 or World Superbikes. Even Ben Spies did World Superbike and became World Superbike champion, didn't he, on his way in?
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody that did a full career and became World Superbike, became MotoGP world champion.
They were Rossi's peak years as well.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, okay, he had some misfortune that year. He had broke his wrist, he missed Assen. But still, he could have been...
Taxman.
Yeah.
Taxman was knocking.
And you still got to be...
Ben laughing.
You still got to... still got to beat him, haven't you?
Of course you have.
And he beat Rossi that year. And then, Rossi would have had 10 championships, I think, not 9.
Yeah, that's right,
yeah. So, which he was striving to do.
Because he won 7, he won 8 and 9 after that, didn't he? Rossi.
No, he won...
Did he win 8?
Yes, he did, because Stoner was 7. And then he won 8 and 9.
And he won 8 and 9.
I think Lorenzo was...
And then Lorenzo 10.
Yeah.
And he never won a championship after that.
No. But Nicky Hayden, for his dedication, he's a great family. And like his humble background, you know what I mean? He was such an humble guy. His dad was a car trader, second chance autos, and yeah, a bit of a redneck and that. It's great. It's a great story.
It's a perfect. So it would make a great movie, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, definitely.
It would make an amazing movie. Nobody would believe it.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, here we go. It's like Silver Dream Racer all over again.
Yeah.
There's a throwback for you. One last question, because it's your first time on the show, and we asked the same final question to every guest. What's your best hire car story, Pup?
I knew he was going to say this, but to be honest,
Good. It means you've been paying attention.
it wasn't like, it's not an exciting story, but it's a story, I guess. Me and Johnny Air, we took a truck down to Jerez, one HRC truck, and it was the time when there was that Icelandic dust cloud.
Okay.
The volcanic ash. So he gets down to, and I'd been with Karen that long. So we met in December, and this was sort of like, I don't know what I mean, April, May. And I was like desperate to come back. So he gets to Jerez, dump the truck, gets to the airport, all the flights are cancelled, obviously. Oh, flipping heck, what are we going to do? Like, I'm not staying here for a week because it was the week before the Grand Prix. So anyway, run Roger up. Roger's great. Go, mate, there'll be a car ready for you in 10 minutes at Avis. So gets to Avis, got this lovely A3 S-Line. So me and Johnny, south of Spain, jumped in this car, absolutely ragged it all the way through France, like almost non-stop. And Karen was super impressed because she thought, oh, you drove all that way just for me.
It's still my big
yeah. So anyway, we gets back home, and then we ragged this car. And then Roger said, we thought I'd just drop at Avis, and he rang and said, oh no, you have to take it back because I'm gonna get a massive penalty because it's a Spanish car. I can't leave it until you have to drive it back for the race. So we said, no worries. So Johnny met me again. We drove back. Actually, we took it a bit steady this time. Karen made a pack up for us both. We stopped. We took it a bit easy. Gets back. So now it's over mileage of the service limit. So anyway, then I had this car, did the Grand Prix, and then we was at the car park after the race the next day to go to the airport. And the Japanese, Ogo and Imai, they were messing around, putting the luggage in. It was taking ages. I was a little bit hungover, and they're putting these cases in. I said, for God's sake, fucking shut the... And I slammed the door, and the suitcases smashed the back window completely out. I thought, oh, shit. So I took it back to Avis in Jerez Airport. So it'd like gone 1,000 K over its service limit. There's no back window, and it was just absolutely finished. And yeah, it's not a super exciting story. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, it was one of them. But it served its purpose anyway.
That's exactly what it did.
So yeah,
we'll be sitting down with Johnny Air in the new year.
Oh yeah.
Johnny's been in touch, so we're going to put a little series together.
Yeah.
Of MotoGP mechanics, because I think it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And this where the real stories are.
We got some. I used to drive the truck with him as well. We got some stories. Used to drive trucking all over Europe, and we spent a lot of time together in the HRC days, going back to Aalst and sleeping in the truck and ratchet strapping the door so we didn't get gassed and those sort of things.
I was supposed to be with him last week, but he went to Poland. He went away for a break.
Everyone he's left as well. He's full time.
He's called time on it now.
And so I'm interested to see what he does in the future. So yeah,
it's going to be an interesting one. This, and also the family connection. You talk about your wife Karen, mum to Frank and Jordan.
Yeah. Small world, isn't it?
Small world. Yeah. Frank and Jordan on a few weeks.
I vaguely remember when in 2000 when I went to the TT in the garage. There was Karen. The twins must have been. When did they were born? August. So this was the following June. So yeah. No, not even a year.
He's 11 months old.
Yeah, and they were in the pushchair, and Karen was there. And then never imagined I'd be marrying them and they'd be my stepkids, like, all that years later. It's bizarre, isn't it?
And Karen's dad behind the camera, Ben Atkins, Red Bull Racing, and
BSB legend.
BSB legend, absolutely. He's sat there keeping quiet behind.
I think he should be the next podcast.
He won't do it. He said he's had too many. He said he's had a bang on the head and he can't remember anything.
Yeah.
I keep just gently massaging the way. We did it at the night show when Ben's like, no.
He tells us some great stories, and like when
he's at JR and all.
Yeah.
And Sean Emmett and Roger Marshall and all of Nigel Bosworth and all the people and beyond that Ben's where he just sat there quietly at the back. He's enjoyed the show. But before these cameras drop down, Pup, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely superb.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Let's do this again next year.
Yeah, the memories.
Find a bit of time.
Yeah.
Keep jotting the memories down.
Yeah.
And when you get a bit of a win, it might even be this time next year, because we know what the schedule's like. Once you get started at the end of January, you're relentless through to the end of November.
Yeah.
But we wish you all the best for 2025 with Brad. Thank you so much, mate. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Pup.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
A massive thanks to Pup for his time, and I hope you enjoyed that just as much as we did. We've got a few more mechanics lined up. We wanted to drop Matt and Mark in first just to see what the reaction was from you, our fantastic audience. So it's nice to see that it's been really appreciated, especially the first one. And I hope you've appreciated this one just the same. We'll be bringing you more mechanics over the next few weeks. We did have one lined up, but unfortunately he signed up for a new job for 2025. So we've had to rearrange that chat with Johnny AF for the future. So you've got me and Jennifer next week. We've put the questions out on the Facebook page and to our fantastic patrons. Let's see what comes back, because at the time of recording this, I've no idea what's ahead of us. It's going to be a voyage and a journey in itself. So let's see what happens next week with myself and Jennifer. So until then, thank you so very much for watching. And please do look after yourself. Bye-bye.